Story 1. Mom would kill me if I dump him before he finishes the renovation. My fiance texted me by mistake. I said nothing. I just forwarded it to her father, canceled the wedding, and watched her get screwed. Hey Reddit. So this happened 8 months ago. My fiance sent me a text meant for her friend. She immediately deleted, "Oops, my phone is glitching, don't mind it, babe." But it was too late. Fair warning, this gets pretty savage, but every single word is documented truth. Screenshots saved, lawyers involved, the whole scorched earth playbook. I, 27 male, was engaged to Brooke, 25 female, for 6 months, together for 3 years total. Living together for the past year in this incredible apartment that belonged to her dad, Mr. Miller. The wedding was supposed to be in 2 months, $40,000 already spent, venue booked, invitations sent. I'd even bought her a $12,000 engagement ring because Princess Brooke deserved something that reflected her worth. Here's the thing about Brooke. She was born on third base and thought she hit a triple. Daddy's little princess, who never heard no in her life. She was born on third base and still managed to argue with the ump about how unfair life is. Private schools, brand new BMW for her 16th birthday, college paid for, then a job handed to her through daddy's connections. She had this way of expecting everyone to cater to her needs while contributing absolutely nothing herself. Her mom, Cheryl, was a piece of work. Total mean girl who never grew up. The type who'd smile to your face then trash you to anyone who'd listen. She hated me from day one because I wasn't some trust fund brat from their country club. Made snide comments about my simple background and would literally ignore me at family dinners. Brooke thought it was funny. "Mom's just protective," she'd say. "She'll warm up to you." 3 years later, Cheryl was still treating me like I was tracking mud through her precious daughter's life. But Mr. Miller was solid gold. This man took me under his wing, taught me everything about construction project management, and helped me negotiate better contracts. We'd grab drinks and talk shop, and he treated me like the son he never had. When I asked for Brooke's hand in marriage, he actually got happy. "You're exactly what she needs," he said. "Someone with integrity who'll keep her grounded." The apartment was his wedding gift to us. 2 years at $800 a month rent, when comparable places were $2,500. But it needed work. I spent 4 months and about $18,000 of my own money completely renovating it. New kitchen with custom cabinets, luxury vinyl plank flooring, completely gutted and retiled bathroom, fresh paint throughout. I did most of the work myself because I loved her and wanted our first home to be perfect. Brooke treated it like her personal HGTV show, always posting Instagram stories of my amazing fiance renovating our dream home with hashtags like Shocker Lucky Girl and He Spoils Me. My buddy Connor, who's known me since high school, kept making jokes about how I was being house-trained by Princess Brooke. "Dude, you're doing all this work and she's acting like you should be grateful for the privilege," he'd say. That's not normal. But I was blinded by wedding plans and thinking about our future. Big mistake. The signs were everywhere. She'd mention Brad from work constantly. "Brad thinks we should try that new restaurant. Brad says I should ask for a promotion. Brad has such good taste in wine." Red flags the size of Texas that I ignored because I trusted her. She also got weird about her phone. Always face down. Always taking calls in other rooms. When I'd ask who she was texting, she'd get defensive. "God, Liam, I'm allowed to have friends." Then, there was her entitled attitude about everything. Wedding planning was a nightmare. Nothing was good enough. Everything had to be perfect. And somehow every decision became about what other people would think. The flowers had to be imported peonies. The venue had to have valet parking. The dress had to be custom. Every conversation ended with, "It's my day, Liam." Our friend dynamic was toxic too. Her best friend Madison was basically Brooke 2.0, spoiled, entitled, and mean as hell. Madison would make comments like, "You're so lucky Brooke's marrying down. It shows she really loves you," and thought she was being funny. Brooke never defended me, just laughed along. Connor couldn't stand either of them. "Madison looks like she eats poor people for breakfast," he told me once. "And Brooke just sits there letting her trash you." Tuesday morning changed everything. I'm having coffee before heading to the job site, checking weather reports because we had a major concrete pour scheduled when my phone buzzes. Text from Brooke. "OMG. Brad was incredible last night. I can't believe Liam hasn't figured it out yet, but I have to wait until he finishes the apartment before I dump him. Dad would literally murder me if I broke up with him before the renovation is done. Plus, I need to figure out how to keep the ring. LMAO. I read it twice. 3 years. 3 freaking years, plus 6 months engaged. My fiance just speed ran, turning me from future husband to free contractor with a wallet. World record pace, honestly. Then I watched the message disappear. She was trying to unsend it, but my phone had already auto-backed up to the cloud. Screenshot saved. New message. Shit, sorry, babe. Wrong chat. That was for Madison. Ignore that weirdness, lol. Another message. My phone is being so glitchy today. Just ignore any random messages. But you can't unsee betrayal like that. You can't unknow that your fiancé was planning to dump you after using you for free renovation work while screwing some married guy from her office. Brad. I knew exactly who this piece of shit was. Some 35-year-old marketing director, married with 2 kids, drives a BMW he definitely can't afford on his salary. Brooke had mentioned him constantly. Always work stuff, but now it all made sense. The late client dinners, the weekend team-building events, the new lingerie she claimed was for our honeymoon. I sat there for 20 minutes just staring at that text. My entire future, the wedding, the house we were supposed to buy, the kids we talked about, all built on lies. But here's the thing about me. When someone screws me over, I don't get sad. I plan. I called in sick for the first time in 3 years and spent the day planning the most beautiful revenge in the history of cheating fiancés. I didn't pack my shit and leave like some heartbroken beta. No, I had a wedding to cancel and a reputation to destroy first. Step 1. Cancel everything. I called every vendor, every venue, everyone involved in our $40,000 wedding fantasy. Cancellation fees were brutal. Lost about $15,000 total, but worth every penny to watch Brooke's dream wedding evaporate. Step 2. Contact Brad's wife. This took some detective work, but Connor helped me find her Facebook profile. Sarah Brad, elementary school teacher, married to that piece of shit for 8 years. 2 kids under 10. I sent her a message with the screenshot. Hi, Sarah. I don't know you, but I think you deserve to know who your husband really is. I'm sorry you have to find out this way. She responded within an hour. Oh my God. I knew something was wrong. He's been working late constantly and acting so weird. Thank you for telling me. Step 3. Forward everything to Mr. Miller. This man had been like a father to me, invested in our relationship, paid for half the engagement party. He deserved to know his daughter was a lying, cheating bitch. Email to Mr. Miller. I thought you should know what kind of person your daughter really is before you waste any more money on her wedding. The apartment renovation is complete. Thank you for treating me with respect. I'm sorry she couldn't do the same. Attach the screenshot and hit send. If I'm going to burn my life down, I'm at least making sure everyone gets to roast marshmallows on the way. Step 4. Document everything. I made copies of all our financial records, proof of what I'd spent on the apartment, receipts for wedding expenses, everything. If this got ugly legally, I wanted ammunition. My phone started blowing up around 3 p.m. Brooke called 18 times before I finally answered. Liam, what the heck did you do? Her voice was raw panic, but I could hear the rage underneath. Princess wasn't used to consequences. I don't know what you mean, sweetheart. You ruined my life. Dad is furious. Brad's wife is calling him. The wedding venue called asking about cancellations. So you told your dad it was fake then? That you weren't actually cheating on your fiancé? Silence. Then, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen, Brooke? You were going to dump me after using me for free labor and keep the ring I'd bought? That ring was a gift. Gifts can be returned. Speaking of which, I need it back. Fuck you! I'm not giving you anything! We'll see about that. Don't contact me again. I hung up. Connor came over that evening with drinks and pizza. Dude, you're ice cold. I'm genuinely impressed. She wanted to play games. I just played better. What's next? Now we watch it all burn down. Within 2 hours of forwarding that text, Mr. Miller called me. Liam, can you meet me? We need to talk. We met at our usual spot, and he looked completely destroyed. I owe you an apology. Sir, you don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. I raised her better than this. Or thought I did. He stirred his coffee with shaking hands. What she did to you? I'm ashamed she's my daughter. Here's where it gets good. After getting my email, Mr. Miller didn't just confront Brooke. He went full investigator on his own daughter. I called my buddy who manages the Marriott downtown, asked him to check recent bookings under Brooke's name. The Marriott, of course, where Brad probably told his wife he was having client dinners. 12 times in the past 3 months, Liam. Always the same room. Always charged to a corporate credit card. 12 freaking times. While I was installing crown molding and planning our honeymoon, so I made some calls. Found out Brad's been using company funds for these little adventures. His father-in-law is a VP at First National. We play golf together. Mr. Miller had destroyed Brad's entire life with 3 phone calls. Brad got fired within 24 hours. His wife filed for divorce and took the kids to her sister's house. But that's not all, Mr. Miller continued, his voice getting harder. I confronted Cheryl about this. Asked if she knew anything about Brooke's behavior. Oh, shit. She laughed, Liam. Actually laughed and said, at least she's smart enough to have options. Turns out Cheryl had been encouraging this whole thing, telling Brooke she could do better than you. My jaw dropped. Wait, she knew? She was coaching Brooke on how to hide it. Told her to wait until after the wedding to leave you, because divorced women get better settlements than broken engagements. The betrayal was complete. Not just Brooke, but her toxic mother had been actively sabotaging our relationship while smiling to my face at family dinners. Mr. Miller said quietly, 25 years of marriage, and I find out my wife thought infidelity was a strategy. The collateral damage was spreading. Brooke's selfishness hadn't just destroyed our relationship, it had nuked her parents' marriage and her affair partner's entire life. There's one more thing, Mr. Miller said. I need you to move back into the apartment. Sir? Brooke's been staying there since this happened, acting like she's the victim. I want her out. Tonight. And I want you back in there. Same rent agreement. You earned that place honestly. Best revenge ever. Moving back into the apartment was psychological warfare at its finest. Brooke had been living there for 3 days, probably thinking she'd won some kind of victory by keeping her place. When she came home Thursday evening to find me on the couch watching TV, she lost her absolute shit. What the hell are you doing here? I live here. Your dad asked me to move back in. This is my apartment. Actually, it's your dad's apartment. And he's decided you don't live here anymore. She was shaking with rage, still wearing her work clothes. You can't just kick me out. I'm not kicking you out. Your dad is. I'm just moving back into the place I renovated with my own money. That's when I noticed the ring wasn't on her finger anymore. Where's my ring, Brooke? What ring? She tried to hide her left hand behind her back like a guilty child. The $12,000 engagement ring I bought. That was a gift. You can't take back gifts. Connor, who was helping me move stuff back in, started laughing. Dude, she really thinks she gets to keep the ring after cheating. Wow. Fuck you, Connor. Brooke spun on him. This is none of your business. Actually, it became my business when you made my friend look like an idiot for 3 years. And fuck you too. The ring, Brooke. Now. No! I deserve something after what you've put me through. What I've put you through? You cheated on me with a married man and planned to dump me after I finished your free renovation. That's when Madison showed up. Of course. Brooke's entitled best friend, probably there to provide moral support for the victim routine. Brooke, babe, you don't have to deal with this, Madison said, shooting me a look of pure disgust. He's clearly having some kind of breakdown. Madison, stay out of this, I said calmly. Your friend is a cheating liar, and she's returning my property. How dare you talk to me like that? Madison got in my face like she was going to do something. Brooke made a mistake, but you're being vindictive and cruel. Connor stepped up behind me. Lady, your friend screwed a married man for 3 months while planning her wedding to someone else. That's not a mistake. The truth was hitting Madison for the first time. She looked at Brooke confused. Wait, what? Brooke's mask slipped completely. Madison, don't listen to them. They're trying to make me look bad. Brooke, Madison said slowly. Did you cheat? Silence. With Brad? That married guy from work? More silence. Madison stepped back from her best friend like she was contagious. Oh my God. You did. You actually did. It wasn't supposed to happen. I was confused. Confused? I yelled, losing my cool for the first time. You texted your friend about keeping my ring after dumping me. You planned this whole thing. That's when Brooke went full victim mode. Started crying. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You're supposed to love me. Fight for me. I did love you. I loved someone who doesn't exist. You're destroying my life over one stupid mistake. Connor snorted. 12 hotel visits isn't one mistake, princess. That's a whole relationship. Shut up, Connor. Nah, I'm good. Madison was backing toward the door. Brooke, I can't. I need to go. This is insane. And just like that, Brooke lost her best friend too. Madison had finally seen who Brooke really was underneath all the designer clothes and daddy's money. After Madison left, Brooke tried one more manipulation tactic. Fine. You want the ring so badly? Here. She threw it at me as hard as she could, hit me in the chest and bounced onto the hardwood floor I'd installed myself. There. Are you happy now? You've taken everything from me. I didn't take anything. You threw it all away for some married dick. She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, then turned back with pure venom in her eyes. I'll make you regret this. Looking forward to it. After she left, Connor and I cracked open drinks and surveyed the apartment. It felt different now, like reclaiming territory that was rightfully mine. Dude, she's going to go nuclear, Connor said. Girls like that don't handle rejection well. Let her try. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Probably Brooke using someone else's phone since I'd blocked her. You haven't seen Crazy yet. I'm going to destroy you like you destroyed me. I showed Connor the text. He just shook his head. Famous last words of every Psycho X. This is going to be fun to watch. He was right. Brooke's public breakdown was about to become legendary. Her first move was trying to get me fired. Because of course it was. Monday morning, I'm on a job site downtown when security calls my radio. Liam, there's a woman at the main office demanding to speak to your boss. Says it's urgent regarding your character. My stomach dropped. Blonde, looks like she shops at Nordstrom and drives a BMW? That's the one. Don't let her pass the lobby. I'll be right there. I drove to the office fast, but I wanted to control this narrative before Brooke could spin her lies. Found her in the reception area wearing her professional victim outfit. Conservative dress, hair in a bun. She was talking to our receptionist like they were best friends. I'm just so worried about him, she was saying. The breakup has really affected his mental state. I think he might be dangerous. Brooke. My voice cut across the lobby. What the hell are you doing here? She turned on the waterworks immediately. Liam, thank God. I've been so worried about you. Ma'am, you need to leave. Now. I can't leave knowing you're telling people lies about me. I need to speak to someone in charge. That's when my boss, Tom, came downstairs. He'd heard the commotion and wanted to see what was happening. Is there a problem here? Brooke immediately switched into performance mode. Yes, sir. I'm Liam's ex-fiancé, and I'm concerned about his mental state since our breakup. He's been spreading lies about me, harassing my family, and I'm worried about what he might do. Tom looked at me, then back at Brooke. Ma'am, I've worked with Liam for 4 years. He's one of our most reliable employees. What exactly are you claiming he's done? He canceled our wedding without telling me, turned my father against me, and he's telling people I cheated when I never did. I think he's having some kind of breakdown. The lies were flowing so smoothly, I almost admired the performance. Almost. Tom, who's been managing people for 20 years, could smell bullshit from orbit. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave our property. If you have concerns about harassment, contact the police. You don't understand. He's dangerous. He could hurt someone. Security! Tom called over his radio. Please escort this woman off the property. As security walked Brooke out, she turned back and screamed, This isn't over! I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. The entire lobby went silent. Tom shook his head and looked at me. 4 years, he said. Never seen you lose your temper. Never had a complaint about your character. Whatever's going on with your ex, we've got your back. But she wasn't done. That afternoon, she posted a Facebook rant that was pure art. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. I'm learning that some people can't handle being loved by someone out of their league. It's heartbreaking to watch someone you cared about destroy themselves with jealousy. I'm choosing to focus on healing and surrounding myself with people who celebrate my success instead of trying to tear me down. Know your worth. Toxic masculinity. She tagged everyone. My sister, my coworkers, mutual friends. The comments were predictable from her remaining enablers. You're so strong, babe. His loss. Men can't handle successful women. But Connor, bless his soul, commented, This is hilarious. Please tell us more about how cheating with married men counts as success. That comment got 50 likes before Brooke deleted the entire post. Wednesday, she escalated. Showed up at Connor's construction site and tried to get him fired too. Your employee is harassing me online and spreading lies about my character, she told his foreman. Connor's boss is ex-military and doesn't play games. Ma'am, you have about 10 seconds to get off my site before I call the cops. But he's 10 seconds. Brooke left, but not before screaming at Connor in front of his entire crew, You're just as pathetic as he is. Connor texted me immediately. Dude, your ex just tried to get me fired. This bitch has completely lost it. That evening, Brooke posted another Instagram story claiming she was being stalked and threatened by multiple men and was considering legal action. The desperation was beautiful to watch. Every move she made just destroyed her credibility further. But her masterpiece was still coming. By Thursday, the Miller family nuclear war was in full swing, and Brooke was losing on every front. Mr. Miller called me that morning. Can you meet me? There's been some developments. We met at our usual diner, and he looked like he'd been through hell. I filed for divorce yesterday, he said, without preamble. 25 years of marriage Down the drain because my wife thought infidelity was a strategy. Here's what happened. After Cheryl laughed about Brooke having options, Mr. Miller started digging deeper. Turns out Cheryl hadn't just known about the affair. She'd been actively coaching Brooke on how to manage it. Cheryl told her to string you along until after the wedding, then file for divorce and take half of everything you'd build together. Said divorced women get better settlements than broken engagements. The calculation was sickening. They'd planned to let me pay for a wedding, renovate their apartment, then divorce me and take half my assets. Cheryl also knew about Brad's wife and kids. Didn't care. Told Brooke that a marriage is just paperwork, and she should get what she can out of both relationships. Mr. Miller's voice was getting harder as he talked. My wife encouraged our daughter to destroy 2 families for her own entertainment. I can't live with someone like that. But it gets better. Cheryl was so confident in their plan that she'd been bragging about it to her book club friends. My Brooke's got 2 men competing for her attention. That's how you know you raised a daughter, right? One of those book club friends happened to be married to Mr. Miller's golf buddy, who told him everything. The whole social circle knew, Liam. They were all watching you play the fool while my wife and daughter laughed about it behind your back. The humiliation was complete, but so was the justice. Cheryl's reputation at the country club was destroyed. Half her book club friends stopped talking to her when they realized what kind of person she really was. Cheryl's staying at her sister's place now, Mr. Miller continued. Brooke tried to move back in with her, but apparently even Cheryl has limits. She kicked Brooke out after 2 days. Where's Brooke staying now? Some extended stay motel on the highway, living off credit cards and daddy's guilt money. He paused. Which I cut off yesterday. Mr. Miller had frozen Brooke's credit cards, removed her from his bank accounts, and stopped paying her car insurance. Princess was about to learn what the real world felt like. She showed up at my office yesterday, screaming about how I'd chosen you over my own daughter. Made such a scene that security had to escort her out. That afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered. Liam, you need to call my dad right now. Brooke was crying hysterically. He cut off my cards. I can't afford food. This is all your fault. Your dad cut you off because you're a lying, cheating sociopath. That's not my fault. I made one mistake. One stupid mistake and everyone's treating me like a criminal. 12 hotel visits isn't one mistake, Brooke. And planning to divorce me after I paid for our wedding isn't a mistake. It's fraud. I never said that. Well, your mom did. To her entire book club. Silence. Then, you don't understand the pressure I was under. Mom said, I don't give a shit what your mother said. You're an adult who made adult choices. Deal with adult consequences. Please, Liam, I'm broke. I don't have anywhere to go. Figure it out. You're good at manipulating people. I'm sure you'll find someone else to use. I hung up and blocked that number too. Friday evening, Connor and I were having drinks on the apartment balcony when we heard a commotion in the parking lot below. Brooke was standing next to her BMW, screaming at someone on her phone. I don't care what Dad said. This is my apartment too. I have rights. We watched her stomp around the parking lot for 10 minutes, yelling at various people on the phone. Finally, she looked up and saw us on the balcony. Liam, get the hell down here. We need to talk. I raised my drink in a mock toast. No thanks. Enjoying the view. You can't hide up there forever. I'm not hiding, Brooke. I'm living in my apartment that I renovated with my own money. She lost her shit completely. Started screaming obscenities, throwing things from her car, making a complete spectacle of herself. Other residents came out to watch the show. Mrs. Rodriguez from 3B called building security. There's a woman having a mental breakdown in the parking lot. Security arrived and asked Brooke to leave. She tried to claim she lived there, but they checked with the building manager and confirmed she'd been removed from the lease. Ma'am, you're trespassing. You need to leave now or we'll call the police. Fine, but I'm calling my lawyer. As she drove away, Connor shook his head. Dude, she really thinks she's the victim in all this. Entitlement is a hell of a drug. Monday morning, I got served with papers at work. Brooke was suing me for breach of promise to marry and demanding $50,000 in damages for emotional distress and financial hardship caused by abandonment. Connor read the lawsuit over my shoulder. Holy shit! She's actually trying to sue you for dumping her after she cheated. That's impressive. But I wasn't worried. I had screenshots, witnesses, and the best lawyer daddy's money couldn't buy anymore. This was about to get really fun. Brooke's lawsuit was the most delusional document I'd ever read. Her lawyer, some ambulance chaser she'd found on Google, was claiming I'd intentionally inflicted emotional distress by ending our engagement without cause. According to the filing, I had abandoned her without warning, spread false rumors about her character, conspired with her father to make her homeless, caused her to lose income due to emotional trauma, violated her privacy by sharing private communications. The $50,000 demand was broken down as $12,000 for the engagement ring, which I'd already taken back, $15,000 for wedding expenses that I'd paid for, $23,000 for future earnings lost due to emotional distress. Connor nearly choked laughing when he read it. She wants you to pay her for cheating on you. The balls on this chick are legendary. My lawyer, David, was a family law specialist who'd handled Connor's cousin's messy divorce. He took one look at Brooke's filing and started grinning. This is the worst lawsuit I've seen in 15 years, he said. Can she actually win anything? Not a chance. But we're going to make this so painful for her that she'll never try something this stupid again. David's countersuit was a work of art. We sued Brooke for return of all money I'd spent on wedding expenses, $15,000, reimbursement for apartment renovation costs, $18,000, legal fees and court costs, intentional infliction of emotional distress. But the real killer was David's discovery process. See, when you sue someone, they get to request all your communications, financial records, everything. Brooke's lawyer had opened Pandora's box. Within a week, we had all her text messages with Brad, extremely graphic, all her text messages with her friends about managing me, all her communications with her mother about the divorce plan, her credit card records showing hotel charges, her work emails using company resources to coordinate affairs. The evidence was devastating. Not just the affair, but the calculated nature of it. Screenshots of her laughing about my pathetic renovation work while planning to dump me. Messages about keeping the ring and bleeding him dry in the divorce. But my favorite was a text to her mom. I can't wait to see his face when I serve him papers at work. He thinks he's so smart, but I'm about to take him for everything he's worth. Connor was helping me organize evidence when he found that gem. Dude, she literally documented her entire plan to screw you over. It's like she wanted to get caught. Narcissists always think they're smarter than everyone else. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. In the meantime, Brooke's public breakdown was accelerating. She'd been posting increasingly unhinged social media rants about corrupt lawyers and men who can't handle strong women. But the comments were turning against her. People were starting to figure out that her story didn't add up. Madison had apparently grown a conscience and was telling people the truth about what really happened. Word was spreading through our old social circle about Brooke's affair and lawsuit. Her work situation was getting messy too. Brad's firing had created drama at their marketing firm, and everyone knew Brooke was involved. Her boss couldn't fire her without cause, but he could make her life miserable. She got moved to the worst projects and excluded from client meetings. 2 weeks before the hearing, Brooke made her biggest mistake yet. She showed up at my job site. Again. This time, she didn't try to be subtle. She parked right in front of the construction trailer and started honking her horn at 6 a.m., screaming for me to come out and face her like a man. My entire crew gathered to watch the show. She was still in her pajamas, hair unwashed, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Liam, I know you're hiding. Dave, my foreman, shook his head. This chick has completely lost it. I walked out of the trailer slowly. Brooke, you need to leave. There's a restraining order hearing next week, and this isn't helping your case. Restraining order? I'm not the crazy one. You're the one who destroyed my life. She was screaming so loud that workers from other job sites were coming over to watch. Someone was definitely recording this on their phone. This is your final warning, Brooke. Leave now or I'm calling the police. Call them! I don't care. I'll tell them how you stole my ring and ruined my family. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. She saw me doing it and completely lost her shit. Fine, but everyone's going to know what you did to me. Everyone! She got back in her BMW and peeled out of the parking lot, tires squealing. Connor jogged over from his site across the street. Dude, she just gave you everything you need for the restraining order. That evening, Brooke posted a Facebook Live video that went viral in our social circle. 23 minutes of her crying in her motel room, talking about how I'd abused her and turned everyone against her. The comments were brutal. Even people who'd been neutral were calling her out for the obvious lies and manipulative behavior. But the best part was when she accidentally showed her laptop screen, which had a Google search for how to win a lawsuit against ex-fiancé and can you sue someone for emotional abuse. Connor screen recorded the whole thing and sent it to David. Evidence for the crazy pile, he wrote. 3 days later, we were in court, and Brooke was about to learn what real consequences felt like. The courthouse hearing was everything I'd hoped for and more. Brooke showed up looking like she'd gotten dressed in the dark. Wrinkled blazer, mismatched shoes, hair that clearly hadn't seen a professional in weeks. Her Google lawyer looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Meanwhile, I was in my best suit with David, who'd prepared a presentation that would have made PowerPoint proud. Judge Harrison read through the case summary with increasing disbelief. Ms. Miller, you're suing your ex-fiancé for emotional distress after conducting a 3-month affair with a married man? Brooke's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client made an error in judgment, but that doesn't give the defendant the right to— Sit down. Judge Harrison cut him off. I'm talking to your client. Brooke stood up, trying to look dignified. Your Honor, I made a mistake, but Liam's reaction was completely disproportionate. He destroyed my relationship with my family, got me kicked out of my home, and— Did you or did you not send a text message to a friend stating you planned to dump the plaintiff after he finished renovating your apartment? Silence. Your Honor, David stood up. We have documented evidence that Ms. Miller conducted a calculated affair while planning to commit what amounts to fraud against my client. David's presentation was devastating. Screenshots of Brooke's texts, hotel records, witness statements from Madison, who'd agreed to testify, and financial records showing the scope of her deception. But the killing blow was the security footage from my job site showing Brooke's public meltdown 3 days earlier. The footage played on the courtroom monitor. Brooke screaming in her pajamas, threatening to destroy me, making a complete spectacle of herself while I remained calm and professional. The judge watched the whole thing with disgust. Ms. Miller, this behavior is unacceptable. I was upset. He stole my life. You ruined your own life when you decided to cheat on your fiancé and planned to defraud him. Mr. Hudson's response was entirely reasonable. The judgment was swift and brutal. Brooke's lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. She was ordered to pay my legal fees, $8,500. She was ordered to reimburse me for wedding expenses, $15,000. A permanent restraining order was issued, 500 yards minimum distance. She was ordered to undergo counseling for pattern of manipulative behavior. Total judgment against Brooke, $23,500. Brooke completely broke down, started sobbing about how everyone had turned against her and she had nowhere to go. Zero sympathy from anyone in that courtroom. As we left, David shook my hand. That was beautiful. She'll be paying this judgment for years. The aftermath was swift and satisfying. Within a week, Brooke's employer fired her for creating a hostile work environment. The affair scandal had made working there impossible. Her extended stay motel kicked her out for non-payment. Cheryl filed for bankruptcy after the divorce settlement. Mr. Miller sold the apartment building and moved to Florida. But the best part was watching Brooke's social media presence completely collapse. Her final posts were increasingly desperate pleas for sympathy that got zero engagement. Eventually, she deleted all her accounts. Connor heard through the grapevine that she'd moved back to her hometown, living with an aunt and working at a call center. Brad, last I heard, was working at Best Buy and living in a studio apartment. Meanwhile, my life got exponentially better. The job promotion I'd been hoping for came through. Senior project manager with a $20,000 raise, or used part of Brooke's judgment money to buy a house in a nice neighborhood. Mr. Miller and I still talk occasionally. He's doing well in Florida, dating a widow who treats him with actual respect. Best decision I ever made, he said about the divorce. Should have done it years ago. Last week, Connor sent me a screenshot from Madison's Instagram. Apparently, Brooke had tried to reconnect with her old friend group, claiming she'd learned from her mistakes and wanted to rebuild her life. Madison's response was posted publicly. Some mistakes can't be forgiven. What you did to Liam and Brad's family was evil, not just stupid. Don't contact me again. Looking back, I'm actually grateful for that text message. Without it, I might have married Brooke and spent years being used by her. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting toxic people destroy themselves while you build something better. Story 2. Dad and stepmom find out they have a year left to force me split my late mom's money with their kids, so they make my life miserable, and I did this. Alright, so here's the deal. I'm Alex, 17 now, and I'm not just any regular teenager. My story's a bit, well, let's just say different from most. It all starts with my mom, who died when I was 7. That was tough, of course, but little did I know back then she left me something big. Like, really big. But we'll get into that soon. Now, my dad remarried when I was about 9 to Rachel, who came with her daughter, Madison. Rachel's all right, I guess, but she's definitely the type who tries too hard to act like she's everyone's best friend. And Madison, she's like a year younger than me, and let's just say we don't exactly click. Not that she's done anything majorly wrong, it's just she's always had that I deserve it all vibe. Oh, and I have a half-brother, Jake, who's 5 now. He's cool, just a little kid, so no drama there. Yet. But let's rewind to last year when I found out about the money. See, my grandparents, who are my mom's parents, sat me down for a serious talk. I thought it was going to be about college or maybe some boring life advice or whatever, but Nope. They dropped the biggest bomb on me. Turns out I'm going to inherit between $500,000 to $1 million when I turn 18. Yeah, you read that right. My grandparents were super successful business people. They ran this business for years, made a ton of money, and sold it. Instead of keeping any for themselves, they put it all into this trust fund for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't jumping up and down when they told me. I mean, my mom died, and money's not exactly something that can replace that. But still, the idea of having that kind of cash was pretty wild to think about. Like, 1 minute, you're just a regular teenager with part time job dreams, and the next, you're going to be set for life. Kind of a lot to process. My mom had this whole plan set up before she passed. She wanted to make sure that if anything happened to her, I'd be taken care of. She didn't want my dad, or worse, his new wife and kids, getting their hands on it. My grandparents kept adding to the fund after she was gone, and they've been managing it ever since. Smart, right? They even made sure that my dad had no clue about how much was actually in the account. Fast forward to last year, and my grandparents figured it was time I knew the truth. They wanted me to be prepared, not just hit 18 and suddenly have all this money with no clue what to do with it. They explained that my mom set this up to secure my future, and only mine. Not for Madison, not for Jake, and certainly not for Rachel. Just me. At first, I didn't really think much about telling my dad. I figured he already knew it was a decent amount and would be cool with it. Big mistake. One night, while we were just sitting around, I casually mentioned that I'd be getting a good chunk of money when I turned 18. My dad's face went from chill to complete shock. Like the color drained out of his face and his jaw just kind of hung there. I guess he didn't expect me to be sitting on a gold mine. He started asking all these questions like, how much, where's it from, who's in charge of it, all that stuff. And, I didn't want to lie or anything, so I told him. Well, next thing I know, he's talking to Rachel about it, and things went south fast. I mean, they sat me down like we were having some kind of intervention. They start talking about family and sharing the wealth, and how Madison has big dreams of going to law school, but won't be able to afford it unless she gets some help. And by help, they meant my money. Not only that, but they also brought up Jake like, oh, he's only 5 now, but what about when he needs to go to college? It would be so great if you could help set him up for his future. I sat there in disbelief. I mean, are you kidding me? This money was saved by my mom and my grandparents, and they expect me to just hand it over because they can't figure out how to pay for their own kids' stuff? I told them straight up, this money is mine. My mom and my grandparents made sure it's for me, not for Madison or Jake. And that's when Rachel flipped. She went on this whole rant about how I'm being selfish and how it's not fair to keep that kind of money all to myself when I have 2 siblings who could really use it to better their lives. My dad was nodding along like she was making the most logical argument in the world, and I just couldn't believe it. They were acting like I owed them something. Rachel kept pushing, saying things like, how could you even think of blowing all that money on yourself when you could change someone else's life? Don't you care about your family? But let me tell you, it was never about family for them. It was all about getting their hands on the cash. I stood my ground, though. I told them that I wasn't going to share it, and if they were upset about that, then so be it. They both looked at me like I just slapped them in the face. My dad tried to reason with me, saying things like, I'm not asking you to give all of it, just a portion. Think about how much this could help us out. But again, us? No, this money isn't our money, it's mine. After that, the mood in the house changed. My dad and Rachel didn't talk to me much for a while. They kept their distance, but I could tell they were stewing over it. I overheard Rachel talking to Madison one night, telling her not to worry, that they'd figure something out. I couldn't help but feel like they were planning something behind my back. The thing is, I'm not stupid. I know they're just biding their time, waiting for me to crack, or maybe hoping they can guilt trip me into giving them something. But they don't understand that my mom set this up for a reason. She knew this might happen, and that's why she made sure the money stayed locked down until I'm 18. And honestly, I'm not backing down. This is about more than just money. It's about my mom's legacy, what she wanted for me, and not letting anyone take that away. Not Rachel, not Madison, not even my dad. They can try all they want, but they're not getting a penny. All right, so after the whole money thing blew up, things at home got even weirder. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you can feel people talking about you behind your back, but it was like that. My dad and Rachel were acting super off, and Madison wasn't helping either. Like, every time I walked into the room, it would go dead silent. They'd just stare at me, like I was some kind of villain for not handing over my inheritance. It was awkward as hell. Anyway, one day, Rachel decided to take things up a notch. She pulled me aside in the kitchen and tried to have this heart-to-heart conversation. I was just trying to make a sandwich and she comes at me with, Alex, I think you're making a mistake. You're young and you don't understand the value of family yet. When you get older, you'll see that helping out your siblings is more important than any amount of money. I just looked at her and said, they're not my siblings. Madison isn't even blood related and Jake's my half brother. This money has nothing to do with them. She looked shocked, like I'd just insulted her entire existence. But come on, was I supposed to just roll over and agree with her guilt trip? Rachel wasn't done, though. She tried to go on about how family isn't just about blood, and how I should show compassion, but I wasn't buying any of it. It was the same old routine, make me feel bad, get me to agree to give them money, and everyone's happy. Except me, of course. Things hit a real turning point about a week later. My dad and I had this huge blow-up argument, and honestly, I didn't see it coming. He had been pretty quiet after the initial conversation, so I thought maybe he'd let it go. I was wrong. One night he comes home from work, and I can already tell something's up. He's all tense and doesn't even bother with the usual, how was your day, small talk. Instead, he just says, we need to talk, in that serious dad voice that makes you feel like you're about to get grounded or something. So, we sit down in the living room, and he starts off slow, like he's trying to be reasonable. He's like, Alex, I know you're young, and you might not fully understand what you're doing with this money. I'm not saying you have to give all of it away, but Madison really needs help for college. And Jake, well, he's got a future ahead of him too. You could do something great for them. I could feel the anger boiling up inside me, but I kept my cool, mostly. I told him, Dad, this isn't my responsibility. You and Rachel need to figure out how to pay for Madison's college and Jake's future. That's on you, not me. And then he snapped. Like full-on snapped. He started yelling, which is something my dad never does. He said, I've done everything for you. I've raised you, put a roof over your head, fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay me? By being selfish? I tried to stay calm, but it was hard. I mean, come on. He was basically saying that I owed him my inheritance because he did the bare minimum of being a parent. I told him, this money is from Mom and my grandparents. They set it up for me. You don't get to tell me what to do with it. That's when he said the thing that really messed with my head. He goes, your mom wouldn't have wanted you to turn your back on your family like this. She would have wanted you to share. That hit hard, but I knew it wasn't true. My mom set up that money specifically so I wouldn't have to deal with this kind of pressure. She knew something like this could happen, and she didn't want my dad or anyone else taking advantage of it. So I said, if Mom wanted me to share, she would have set it up that way, but she didn't. She left it for me. After that argument, my dad didn't talk to me for days. Rachel wasn't talking to me either, but that wasn't anything new. The house felt like one big, cold shoulder. I would come home from school, and they'd be in the living room or kitchen, but they wouldn't say a word to me. If I tried to talk to them, they'd just give me one-word answers, or ignore me completely. Madison, on the other hand, took a different approach. She wasn't quiet at all. In fact, she got kind of bold about the whole thing. One day, I overheard her talking to Rachel in her room, and she was like, I don't get why he won't just give me the money. It's not like he's going to use all of it. He could at least help me out with tuition. It was almost funny how entitled she sounded, like it was just a given that she should get some of my inheritance. I wanted to bust in and say, hey, newsflash, it's not your money. But I didn't. I just let it go because arguing with her wouldn't get me anywhere. A few days later, things got even crazier. Rachel decided to bring in a lawyer. Yeah, you heard that right. A lawyer. She claimed that she just wanted to explore all the options and make sure everything was being handled fairly. I knew right away that this was her way of trying to intimidate me into giving up some of the money. The lawyer came over to the house, and Rachel made a big show of it, like it was some important meeting. My dad was there too, but he stayed quiet, letting Rachel do most of the talking. She kept saying things like, we just want to make sure Alex understands the legal side of things, and we're concerned about how this money is being distributed. The lawyer, though, didn't seem all that interested. He basically told them that there wasn't much they could do because the money was in a trust set up by my mom and grandparents. It was airtight, and the only way to change anything would be if I decided to do it. Rachel looked pissed. I could tell she was hoping for a different answer, but the lawyer shut her down pretty quick. After that, Rachel stopped pretending to be nice. She stopped talking to me altogether. She wouldn't even look at me when I walked into the room. It was like I didn't exist anymore. And honestly, I didn't care. If she was going to be like that, I was fine with it. The less I had to deal with her, the better. At this point, I knew things weren't going to get better. My 18th birthday was just a few months away, and I could feel the tension building up. It was like everyone was waiting for that moment when the money would officially be mine, hoping I'd change my mind. But I wasn't going to. There was no way I was giving in. I started spending more time at my grandparents' place just to get away from the craziness at home. They were really supportive, and my grandpa even joked about putting a restraining order on my dad and Rachel if they kept this nonsense up. It felt good to know they had my back, no matter what. But deep down, I knew that once I turned 18, things were going to get a lot worse. All right, so now we're getting close to my 18th birthday, and let me tell you, things were going from bad to worse. If I thought my dad and Rachel were being weird before, they took it to a whole new level as the big day got closer. It was like they were just waiting for me to slip up or magically change my mind about the money. Spoiler. I wasn't going to. It started with my dad trying to get all friendly again. Like, after weeks of giving me the cold shoulder, he suddenly acted like everything was fine. One morning, he's sitting at the kitchen table sipping coffee, and he goes, "Hey, Alex, I was thinking we should go fishing this weekend. Just the two of us. You know, like old times." Now, fishing was something we used to do back when I was younger, but it's been years since we actually did anything like that. So it was a pretty random offer, especially since he hadn't exactly been chatty with me recently. I just said, uh, maybe. I've got a lot going on with school. I wasn't going to just fall for the whole let's be buddies again thing after everything he pulled. He didn't push it, but I could tell he was disappointed. Honestly, it felt like he was trying to butter me up so I'd be more open to giving away some of my inheritance. But I wasn't stupid. I knew what this was really about. While my dad was trying the whole nice guy routine, Rachel was up to something else entirely. One day, I came home from school and she's in the living room with a bunch of paperwork spread out on the coffee table. I didn't think much of it at first. She's always got her nose in some paperwork. But then I saw one of the papers had my name on it. I asked her, "What's all this?" And she looked up with this fake smile, like she was trying so hard to be friendly. "Oh, just going over some legal stuff," she said casually. "We want to make sure everything's in order for when you turn 18. Now, I knew Rachel worked in finance or something like that, but this was different. It wasn't just regular paperwork, it was about me and my money. I didn't say anything at the moment, but I made a mental note to keep an eye on her. Something about it didn't sit right with me. A few days later, everything came to a head. My dad sat me down again, this time with Rachel right there, and they hit me with it. "Alex," my dad started, "we've been thinking, and we really believe that once you have access to the money, you should consider helping out Madison with her college costs." I knew this was coming, but it still pissed me off. I just looked at him and said, "Dad, we've been over this. That money isn't for her. It's for me. Mom and my grandparents set it up specifically for me, and I'm not giving it away." Rachel, of course, jumped in with her guilt trip tactics. "But Alex, you're going to have so much money. More than you'll ever need. Madison's worked so hard, and she deserves a chance at a good future. You could help make that happen for her." I had to bite my tongue. It wasn't that I didn't care about Madison wanting to go to college or whatever, but this was my future we were talking about. And honestly, it wasn't my job to pay for her life. "I get that," I said, trying to stay calm. "But it's not my responsibility. If you and Dad want to help her, then you should figure that out. But I'm not giving away my inheritance." That's when Rachel got really mad. She stood up and started pacing around the room, throwing her hands in the air like she couldn't believe what I was saying. "This is ridiculous," she yelled. "You're sitting on a fortune, and you're just going to hoard it all for yourself? What kind of person does that?" I didn't even have a chance to respond before my dad jumped in too. "She's right, Alex. You need to think about your family. We've all made sacrifices for you, and this is how you repay us?" That was it. I'd had enough. I stood up and said, "Sacrifices? What sacrifices? I've been living in this house, going to school, doing my own thing. I haven't asked you for anything. And now because I'm finally getting something for myself, you think I owe it to you?" They were both stunned. I could see it in their faces. They didn't expect me to push back so hard, but I was done being pushed around. A few days after that fight, I got a call from my mom's lawyer. He told me that my dad had been in touch with him, asking about the details of the trust fund. Apparently, he wanted to see if there was any way to challenge the way it was set up. When I heard that, I felt my blood boil. My dad wasn't just trying to guilt me into giving up the money. He was actually trying to find a way to force me to do it. I called my grandpa right away and told him everything. He wasn't happy, to say the least. "Don't worry, Alex," he said. "We've got everything locked down tight. Your dad can't touch a penny of that money, and neither can Rachel." That made me feel a little better, but I still couldn't believe my dad would go that far. It wasn't even about the money at this point. It was about the principle. This was supposed to be for my future, something my mom wanted for me, and here was my dad, trying to take that away just because he and Rachel couldn't get their finances together. Things got even crazier as my birthday got closer. Rachel started being even colder toward me, barely acknowledging my existence whenever I was around. Madison, too. It was like I wasn't part of the family anymore. Every conversation was short and awkward, like they were just waiting for me to turn 18 so they could make one last push for the money. But the final straw came about a week before my birthday. My dad came to me again, this time without Rachel. He looked tired, like he hadn't been sleeping, and I could tell he was about to make some kind of big ask. Alex, he said, I know things have been tense around here, and I just want to clear the air. I've been thinking a lot about this money situation, and I get that it's yours. I really do. But before you make any final decisions, I just want to ask one last thing. I already knew what was coming, but I let him continue. Madison's future depends on this, Alex. If you could just spare a little bit, enough to cover her first year of college, it would mean the world to her. To all of us. I couldn't believe it. After everything, he was still trying to get me to crack. But this time, I didn't even hesitate. No, Dad, I'm not doing it. You and Rachel need to figure this out on your own. I'm not responsible for Madison's college or Jake's future or anything else. This money is for me, and I'm not giving it away. He didn't say anything for a while. He just sat there, staring at the floor, like he didn't know what to do next. Finally, he nodded and said, Okay, I get it. And that was it. He walked out of the room, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. I knew the worst was still to come, but at least I'd stood my ground. Update 1. So here we are. My 18th birthday was just around the corner, and it felt like I was counting down the days to some big showdown. Every day at home got more uncomfortable. You know that feeling when you can't relax in your own space because everyone around you is walking on eggshells? Yeah, that was my life. Rachel, for one, had completely given up on even pretending to like me. She wouldn't talk to me unless she had to, and even then, it was always cold and short. Madison? Well, she'd been giving me these side-eye looks every time we crossed paths, like I was the bad guy in all of this for not just handing over the money. And my dad? He was still distant, but I could tell he was stressed out. I think deep down, he knew he'd lost the battle. But that didn't make things any easier. The weird thing was, in the week leading up to my birthday, it was almost too quiet. My dad and Rachel weren't pushing the money issue as much anymore. And I started thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd accepted my decision. I should have known better. A few days before my birthday, I was out with some friends from school, trying to just live my life and not think about the mess at home. When I got back, the house was completely empty, which was weird because Rachel was usually home with Jake. I figured maybe they went out for the day or something, so I didn't think much of it. But then I saw a letter on the kitchen table with my name on it. Now, I'm not one for drama, but my stomach dropped as soon as I saw that envelope. I knew something was up. I opened it, and inside was a note from my dad. It wasn't long, but it hit hard. Alex, I know we haven't been seeing eye to eye lately, but I want you to know that everything I've done has been for the family. I hope you'll reconsider your decision before it's too late. Rachel and I have discussed things, and if you're not willing to contribute to helping out your siblings, then maybe it's time you think about where you really want to live. Love, Dad. I was fuming. Basically, he was telling me that if I didn't give up some of the money, I wasn't welcome in the house anymore. I couldn't believe it. After everything, he was still using guilt to try and manipulate me into giving up my inheritance. That night, I decided I wasn't going to just sit back and let this happen. I waited until everyone was home. Dad, Rachel, Madison, and even little Jake. We were all sitting in the living room and the tension was thick. No one was really talking, but I could feel that everyone knew what was coming. I looked at my dad and just said it. So, I found your letter. He didn't look surprised. He just nodded like he knew this conversation was coming. Rachel, on the other hand, gave me this smug look, like she thought they'd finally broken me down. So, what's the deal, Dad? You're really going to kick me out if I don't give up some of my money? He sighed, rubbing his temples like he was the one having the tough time. Alex, it's not about kicking you out. It's about being part of this family. You have to understand that this money could help all of us. I wasn't having it. Help all of us? Or help you and Rachel not have to worry about Madison's college bills? Let's be real here. You're not doing this for me. You're doing this because you see my inheritance as a way out of your problems. Rachel jumped in, of course. That's not true, Alex. We've always wanted what's best for you, but you have a chance to help your brother and sister. They're not my responsibility. I cut her off, louder than I meant to. I could see Jake flinch a little, which made me feel bad for raising my voice, but I couldn't back down now. This money was set aside for me. Mom made sure of that. You can't just act like I owe you because you've got 2 other kids to worry about. Madison finally spoke up, her voice full of attitude. You're being selfish, Alex. It's not like you'll even need all that money. Why can't you just help out? I turned to her, trying to keep calm but not really succeeding. You're not entitled to my money, Madison. None of you are. I don't care how hard you've worked or what dreams you have. This is my future, and I'm not letting you or anyone else take it from me. The room went silent. My dad looked like he was about to say something, but he just stared at the floor, shaking his head. Rachel, though, wasn't done. If you can't see how much you're hurting this family, then maybe your dad was right. Maybe it's time you find somewhere else to live. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own stepmom was basically telling me to get out because I wouldn't hand over money that wasn't even hers to begin with. I looked at my dad, hoping he'd step in, but he just sat there, not saying a word. That's when I realized this wasn't going to end well. They weren't going to stop. No matter how many times I said no, they were going to keep pushing until they got what they wanted, or until I was out of the picture. I stood up, not really knowing what to say next. My mind was racing, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Part of me wanted to yell, to tell them all to screw off, but another part of me just felt tired. Tired of all the fighting, tired of the guilt trips, tired of feeling like I was the bad guy in my own home. I looked at my dad one last time. So, this is it? You're really going to throw me out because I won't give you the money? He didn't look up. He just muttered, I don't want to do this, Alex, but you're not leaving us much of a choice. That was it. I was done. Fine, I said, my voice shaking a little. I'll go, but don't expect me to come back. Without waiting for a response, I turned and walked out. I didn't even pack up my things right then. I just left. I called my grandparents on the way to their house, told them what happened, and they were beyond pissed. They told me I could stay with them as long as I needed, which was a huge relief. But as I walked away from the house, I couldn't help but feel this weird mix of anger and sadness. It hurt that my own dad would choose money over me, but at the same time I knew I couldn't keep living like that. I had to look out for myself, even if it meant leaving my family behind. The next few days were kind of a blur. I moved most of my stuff to my grandparents' house, and they were super supportive, telling me over and over that I did the right thing. But it was still hard. Even though my dad had basically kicked me out, it didn't change the fact that I'd lost a big part of my life. It felt like a weird kind of betrayal, and I wasn't sure how to deal with it. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to give up my future for them. I wasn't going to let their greed control me. And now, with my birthday just days away, it felt like everything was about to change. Update 2. So, my 18th birthday finally rolled around. I gotta say, it didn't feel like I thought it would. I guess I'd always pictured it as this huge milestone, like I'd wake up and everything would be different, you know? But in reality, it just felt like another day, except now I had access to a ridiculous amount of money. I was staying with my grandparents by then, so I woke up in their guest room, and the first thing I saw was my grandpa sitting at the kitchen table with a huge grin on his face. He had the papers all ready for me to sign, giving me full control of the trust. My grandma was making breakfast, and it almost felt normal for a minute. Like, after everything that went down with my dad and Rachel, maybe things were finally looking up. But of course, nothing in my life is ever that simple. I barely had time to eat before my phone started buzzing. I checked the screen, and of course, it was my dad. I hadn't spoken to him since I left, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to. But it was my birthday, and a small part of me wondered if maybe he was calling to make things right. Maybe he realized how screwed up everything had gotten, and he was ready to apologize. Spoiler, he wasn't. I answered the phone, and before I could even say hello, he jumped right in with, Alex, we need to talk. It's important. Great, not even a happy birthday first. I sighed and said, What's up, Dad? He didn't waste any time. Rachel and I have been thinking, and we really think you should reconsider your decision about the money. We understand that you feel like it's yours, but you have to understand that this affects the whole family. I couldn't believe it. Here we go again. Dad, we've been over this. I'm not giving you or Rachel any of the money. It's mine, and that's final. He didn't even acknowledge what I said. Instead, he just kept talking, like I hadn't said anything at all. Look, Alex, I know this is a big moment for you, but you need to be smart about it. You don't want to burn bridges with your family over money. I clenched my jaw, trying not to lose it. Dad, you kicked me out because I wouldn't give you the money. That wasn't me burning bridges. That was you. There was silence on the other end for a moment, and I could hear him breathing heavily, like he was trying to control himself. I didn't kick you out. You chose to leave. I almost laughed. You told me to figure out where I wanted to live if I wasn't going to share the money. What else was I supposed to do? He paused again, then finally said, Look, this doesn't have to be a big fight. We can work something out. Maybe just help Madison with her first year of college and we can all move past this. I'd had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. Dad, I'm done. I'm done with all of this. You're not getting any money, and if you can't accept that, then we don't have anything else to talk about. Before he could say anything else, I hung up. My heart was pounding, and I felt like I was going to explode. This was supposed to be my day, but of course, he had to ruin it by dragging me back into the same argument we'd been having for months. After that call, I realized I couldn't keep living in this weird limbo where I was waiting for things to get better with my dad. It was clear that to him and Rachel, the money was more important than anything else, and if they couldn't see that, then there was no point in holding out hope that things would ever be normal again. I sat down with my grandparents and told them everything. They'd been really supportive throughout the whole mess, but I could tell they were worried about how things were going to play out now that I had control of the money. My grandpa, always the practical one, said, "Alex, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. This isn't just about the money anymore. It's about your relationship with your dad. You need to decide if you're willing to cut ties or if you're going to try and work things out." I knew he was right. I'd been avoiding the real issue, hoping that once the money was officially mine, everything would just magically resolve itself. But that wasn't going to happen, so I made a decision. I wasn't going to give my dad or Rachel any money, no matter what. But I also wasn't going to keep putting myself through the emotional ringer, waiting for them to come around. I needed to move on with my life, and if that meant cutting them out, then so be it. A few days after my birthday, I got another call, this time from Madison. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. I hadn't heard from her directly since everything went down, and I was kind of wondering what she had to say. When I picked up, she was surprisingly calm. No attitude, no guilt trips. She just said, "Hey Alex, can we talk?" I was cautious, but said, "Sure, what's up?" She sighed. "Look, I know things have been rough between us lately, and I get that you don't want to give me any money. I'm not here to argue with you about that. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for how things turned out." I wasn't expecting that. At all. Thanks, I guess. There was a pause, and then she said, "I never wanted things to get this bad. I know I was being entitled, and that wasn't fair to you. I don't know. I guess I was desperate because college is expensive, and I thought maybe you'd help me out. But I get it now. It's your money, and you don't owe me anything." I didn't really know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell her off, but another part of me appreciated that she was at least acknowledging how screwed up things had gotten. "Thanks for saying that," I finally said. "But you're right. This whole situation sucks, and I wish it hadn't gone down this way. But it is what it is." Madison sighed again. "Yeah, I know. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. I'm still pissed, but I guess I'll figure something out for college." We didn't talk much after that, but it felt like some kind of closure. It didn't fix anything, but at least she wasn't trying to guilt me into giving her money anymore. After that, things got a lot quieter. My dad stopped calling, and Rachel, well, I wasn't going to hear from her anytime soon. I stayed with my grandparents for a while, and they helped me set up a plan for how to manage the money responsibly. I didn't want to blow through it all or make dumb decisions, so I set up a meeting with a financial advisor and got everything sorted. It felt weird, though. I mean, I was 18, and I had more money than most people make in their entire lives. But it didn't feel like some huge victory. It felt like I'd lost something important in the process, my relationship with my dad. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't keep letting him and Rachel push me around. I started making plans for my future. College, maybe starting a business, who knows? For the first time in months, I felt like I was in control of my life, and it was a pretty damn good feeling. And as for my dad, I don't know if we'll ever fix things, but I do know one thing. I'm not letting anyone take away what my mom and grandparents worked so hard to give me. This is my life now, and I'm going to live it on my terms. Story 3. I learned that my mom is leaving everything to my golden child brother if she passes away. So I told her I'm tapping out of helping her. All right, so here's the deal. I'm the oldest kid of divorced parents, and my dad, he's got his new life now, remarried and off with a whole new family. My mom? She stayed single ever since they split, and she's not the type to ask for help from anyone but family. Specifically, me. She lives in a retirement community where she can be independent. But every time something goes wrong, guess who she calls first? Living close by, I'd probably have no issue popping over. But here's the thing. I live hours away. It's not like I can just swing by and lend a hand whenever she needs it. Every time she needs me, I have to book a flight, rent a car, figure out a way to be away from my own family and work for a few days. But even knowing all that, every time she calls, I show up, no questions asked. Now I do have a younger brother. He lives right in the same city as her, barely 10 minutes away. But does he help? Not really. He's around, sure, but only when he needs something from her. Money, usually. He stops by, does a few small favors, and when he's gotten what he needs, he's gone again. It's a routine I've seen so many times that I almost know his schedule with her better than he does. And even when he's there, I'm still the first person she calls if anything major happens. So there I am, constantly juggling my own life with the next call from my mom. It's become so common that my wife's already predicting what'll happen next. Mom will need something, my brother will be busy, and I'll have to drop everything to go help. And you know it's my mom, so I can't say no. I mean, who else is going to help her? It's not like she's going to ask my brother to suddenly grow up and take some responsibility. Last month, for instance, she had a minor car accident. Nothing too serious, but she twisted her ankle, and she's not exactly young. She calls me, all worried and shaken up, asking if there's any way I can come down. So I pack up my things, book a last-minute flight, and head down. When I get there, I help her with everything. Groceries, doctor appointments, you name it. She's grateful, of course, and it feels good to be there for her, but I can't help but notice that she's still got that soft spot for my brother. Every time he comes up in conversation, she talks about him like he's some sort of hero, even though he barely shows up. So, as usual, I just brush it off. I tell myself, well, that's just how it is. I'm the one she calls because she trusts me, and my brother's the one she gushes about because, honestly, I don't know. Maybe she thinks he needs it more. Maybe she feels bad for him. Either way, it's always the same. I'm the one doing everything, and he's the one getting the praise. One evening, I'm at her place, just finishing up cleaning the kitchen after making her dinner, when my phone rings. It's my wife, checking in on how things are going. She knows the drill at this point. We talk for a bit, and she can tell I'm getting frustrated. You know you don't have to be the one doing everything, right? She says. Maybe it's time to let your brother take some responsibility. I want to believe that's possible, but I know it's just not realistic. I've tried talking to my mom about it before, suggesting that maybe my brother could handle some of these things, but she always has an excuse. Oh, he's got so much going on, she'll say, or he's just not as responsible as you. Every time it's like she's convinced that he can't handle the pressure, so it has to be me. And I'll admit, there's a part of me that feels good about being the one she relies on. It's nice to feel needed, even if it means constantly putting my life on hold. But then, there's this other part, the part that's just tired. Tired of missing out on my own family's life, tired of burning through my savings to pay for all these last-minute trips, and tired of pretending that it doesn't bother me when my brother gets away with doing so little. Then, right on cue, my brother shows up. He didn't come to the hospital when she had the accident, didn't check in while she was at the doctor, but here he is, stopping by now that she's back home and settled. He strolls in, acts like he's just here out of concern, but I know better. Within minutes, he's hinting at some financial trouble he's been having and how he could use a bit of help. And she falls for it, every single time. My mom doesn't hesitate. She reaches into her purse, pulls out a couple of bills, and hands them over like it's nothing. I'm standing there, watching this whole thing go down, and I can feel myself getting angry. Not even because of the money. I mean, it's her money, she can do whatever she wants with it. But because it's just so predictable. I'm the one who flew across the country to help her, and he's the one getting rewarded. After he leaves, I try to bring it up with her, gently, but she just brushes it off. He's had a hard time lately, she says. He's just figuring things out. I don't push it. I just nod, pretending to understand, and go back to cleaning up the dishes. And it's not that I want her to cut him off or anything. He's her son too, and if he needs help, fine. But it's this feeling that no matter what I do, I'll always just be the one who does the work, and he'll always be the one who gets the praise. Before I leave that night, I make sure she's got everything she needs. I double-check the fridge, stock her up on groceries, and remind her to take her meds. She thanks me, gives me a hug, and I feel that familiar guilt mixed with pride. Because even though it's exhausting, I know I'll keep doing it. I don't know how to be anything but the good son. The one who's always there to help, no matter how inconvenient it is. But there's this part of me that wonders if she'll ever really see me as more than just the reliable one. After that last visit, I head back home, figuring I'll be able to settle back into my own life for a bit. But of course, it doesn't take long before the next call comes. My mom's voice is on the line, and she sounds stressed. Turns out my brother's visit drained her bank account again. She's calling me, saying she's in a bit of a pinch until her next pension check comes in. This is becoming a pattern. Every time he's around, it's the same deal. He stops by, sweet talks her, gets whatever cash he needs, and takes off. And I can't even say anything about it without her defending him, saying, oh, he just needed a little help, or he's trying his best. And every single time she leans on me to pick up the slack afterward. I know it's her money, and she's free to do whatever she wants with it. But it's just frustrating to watch. I mean, here I am, doing everything I can to make sure she's okay, and yet I'm the one covering for him. He's not putting in the same effort, yet she doesn't see anything wrong with the whole situation. So I transfer her some money, enough to keep her going for a bit. And yeah, I feel bad about it, because this is money that could go toward my own family, my own kids, or even just something for myself. But what am I supposed to do? Let her struggle? I can't. I know I'll keep helping her, even if it leaves me stretched thin. Because honestly, I don't know how to be anything but the reliable one. A few days later, I call her to check in, just to see how she's doing. She sounds better, telling me about her week, about how she's managing things. I'm glad she's doing okay, but then she starts talking about my brother again. She mentions how he stopped by, hung up a few pictures for her, and brightened her day. I'm just standing there with the phone pressed to my ear, listening to her go on and on about him, like he's some kind of saint. Part of me wants to laugh because the guy is barely doing the bare minimum, and yet he's treated like a hero for it. Meanwhile, I'm the one covering bills, making trips, arranging her medical stuff, and what do I get? A quick thank you, and back to talking about him. So I decide to try bringing it up. I ask her, Mom, don't you think maybe he could do a little more? He's right there, and he could help with the day-to-day stuff instead of just popping in when he feels like it. She goes quiet for a second, then sighs and says, You know, he's just not as reliable as you. I can't count on him the same way. But I'm so grateful I have you to depend on. It's like a slap and a hug at the same time. Sure, she trusts me more, but she's still not expecting him to step up. I don't argue with her. It's not worth it. I just say, yeah, I get it, and change the subject. But inside, I feel this mix of frustration and resignation, like I'm stuck in a role I didn't exactly sign up for. And the thing that really gets to me, I know that the next time my brother needs money, she'll give it to him without a second thought, and then she'll call me to help when she's stretched thin. A couple of weeks pass, and just as I'm settling back into my own routine, she calls again. She needs help with some medical bills that insurance won't cover, and she's worried she won't be able to make it through the month. I ask her if my brother's pitched in, even knowing what her answer will be. Oh, he's got his own struggles right now, she says. He's trying to find a better job, which, let's be real, is her way of saying that he hasn't done a thing. I take a deep breath and tell her, all right, I'll help you out again. She thanks me, and I can hear the relief in her voice, which honestly makes it worth it, even if I'm grumbling a little inside. I'm not angry at her, really. It's not her fault that my brother's always taking advantage of her kindness, and I guess in her mind, she thinks he'll grow out of it eventually. But that's the part that bugs me the most. She's waiting for him to turn into someone who's reliable, someone like, well, me. But I know it's never going to happen, at least not as long as she keeps bailing him out. After that call, I go to my wife, who's been watching all of this unfold with that mix of understanding and frustration that only she could manage. I tell her what happened, and she just sighs. You know she'll never stop helping him, she says. And you'll never stop helping her. She's right, of course. I'm stuck in this cycle where I can't say no because if I don't help, I know she'll be the one who suffers. And my brother? He's got it all figured out. He knows she'll give him whatever he wants, and if he leaves her broke, I'll be the one to step in. It's strange, really, how different the two of us turned out. He's just a couple years younger than me, but the gap between us feels like a lifetime. I work hard, have a family of my own, and take pride in doing things the right way. Meanwhile, he's floating through life, relying on our mom to keep him afloat. And somehow, she still sees him as this struggling kid who just needs a little help. I start thinking back to all the times I've come through for her, all the sacrifices I've made over the years. I've missed work deadlines, burned through my vacation days, skipped out on family events, just to be there when she needed me. And I don't regret it. I love my mom, and I know she appreciates it, even if she doesn't say it as much as I'd like. But there's this nagging feeling, this question that keeps popping up in the back of my mind. Does she even see the difference between us? Does she understand what I've done for her? Or is she just too blinded by her soft spot for him? I try to shake off the thought, convincing myself it doesn't matter. She's my mom, and if she needs me, I'll be there. It's as simple as that. But as the weeks go by, that thought keeps creeping back, and I start wondering if this will ever change. A couple of weeks go by, and I'm starting to think maybe things will calm down a bit. But, as always, the peace doesn't last. I get another call from my mom, and right off the bat, I can tell she's stressed. She's talking in that worried tone she always uses when she's about to ask me for something. Sure enough, she mentions that she's running low on cash, again. She doesn't come right out and say it, but it's clear my brother's been by recently. It's almost like clockwork at this point. He shows up, drains her wallet, and leaves her in a bind. And then I get the call. So I'm listening to her go on about how she feels bad asking and how she knows it's a lot to keep leaning on me. But then she says, I know I can trust you. You're so dependable. You've always been there when I needed you. I don't know if she's trying to guilt trip me or if she genuinely believes that I'll always be there to pick up the pieces. But either way, I give in. Again. I don't know why, but this time it hits differently. I'm sitting there, looking at my bank app as I transfer some money over to her, and there's this feeling of frustration that I can't shake. It's not even the money itself. It's not like I'm broke, but it's the principle of it. I'm putting my hard-earned money toward fixing her problems while my brother takes from her with zero accountability. After I send the money, I decide to give her a call. I'm trying to keep my tone light, not wanting to sound like I'm accusing her of anything, but I feel like I need to get something off my chest. Mom, I say, I've been thinking, maybe you could talk to him? Let him know that he needs to be a bit more careful with what he's asking from you. You're on a fixed income, and it's tough for you to keep covering for him, right? She pauses, then lets out this sigh like I just don't get it. Oh, he's just going through a hard time right now, she says. He's trying his best, really. He just needs a little help. I can feel my frustration building, but I try to keep my cool. Yeah, but Mom, it's like every other week you're telling me you're running low because of him. I'm just saying, maybe you could set some boundaries, you know? Another pause, then she starts in with her classic line. You don't understand, he's not as strong as you. He needs more support. And then she adds, almost like she's saying it as a compliment, I don't have to worry about you because you're so responsible. But he's just not like that. I don't even know how to respond to that. It's like she's seeing him through this lens where he's always the one who needs help, no matter how much damage he causes in the process. And meanwhile, I'm just dependable, reliable, the one she can fall back on, even if it's at my own expense. After I hang up, I sit there for a while, trying to process what she said. There's this weird mix of anger and resignation swirling around in my head. I know she doesn't mean to put me in this position, and I know she probably thinks she's doing the right thing by helping my brother. But it's like she's blind to the fact that he's just taking advantage of her. And what bugs me the most? She seems blind to the fact that I'm here, always here, doing what I can, and all it earns me is a quick thank you and a pat on the back before she goes back to worrying about him. I try to shake it off and move on with my day, but it's eating at me. And then, as if the universe itself is pushing me to confront this, I get a call from my brother that same evening. Now, this is rare. We don't exactly talk often, and when he does reach out, it's usually because he wants something. But I pick up, figuring maybe he actually wants to talk about Mom and work things out. Wrong. He starts off with a casual, hey, how's it going? But it doesn't take long before he's complaining about how hard things have been for him lately, and then he hits me with it. Do you think you could loan me a bit? Just for a couple weeks, man. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. I almost laugh. Here's this guy, who's been milking our mom for everything he can, now coming to me, probably because he's wrung her dry. I don't lose my temper, but I decide it's time to call him out a bit. Look, man, I say, I'm not trying to be harsh, but don't you think maybe it's time you found a better way to manage things? Mom's struggling, and it's tough for her to keep giving you money all the time. I've been helping her out too, but it feels like you're not really pulling your weight here. He doesn't take it well. He gets defensive. Starts saying things like, oh, so now you're judging me? You don't understand what it's like. And how he's trying to figure things out. It's like listening to my mom talk. Honestly, the same excuses, the same deflections. And I realize right then and there that nothing I say is going to make a difference. He's comfortable. He's got Mom to rely on, and if she can't help, he knows I'll be there to catch the slack. I end the call as politely as I can, but the whole thing leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Here I am, bending over backward to keep everything running smoothly, while he gets to waltz through life with no real consequences. And the worst part? My mom lets him. That night, I talk to my wife about everything. I tell her about my conversation with Mom, the call from my brother, all of it. She listens patiently, nodding along, and finally she says, you've done more than enough for them. It's okay to set boundaries, you know. They'll survive without you. I know she's right, but it's hard to let go. There's this part of me that feels like if I don't help, then I'm abandoning them. I've always been the one to step up, to be there no matter what, and admitting that maybe, Just maybe, it's not my responsibility to fix everything. That's tough. But her words stick with me. I start thinking about all the things I've missed out on because of this sense of duty I've felt. All the weekends away from my own family, the vacations I've canceled, the nights spent worrying about my mom's finances instead of focusing on my own. And for what? So my brother can keep treating her like his personal ATM? I know something has to change. I can't keep putting myself last, can't keep sacrificing everything for people who only see me as the dependable one. And as much as I hate to admit it, I think it's time I finally start setting some boundaries, even if it's not easy. Because at the end of the day, I deserve to live my own life too. So, after that whole conversation with my brother and the talk with my wife, I decide to try something different. I tell myself I'll start setting some boundaries with my mom, just small ones at first. I'm not going to abandon her or anything drastic like that. But I figure it's time to stop jumping at every single call. It starts with me waiting a bit longer to reply to her messages. Normally, the second she texts me, I'm replying, sorting everything out for her as fast as I can. This time, I let a couple of hours go by. I know it sounds small, but for me, that's a big deal. And sure enough, the minute I don't respond right away, she starts sending these little follow-up texts. Is everything all right? And, I hope I'm not bothering you. The guilt creeps in, but I keep telling myself that it's okay to take a breath, that she can wait a little bit. When I finally do reply, I keep it brief. I don't offer to help with anything she didn't directly ask for, and I try to keep the conversation casual. And surprisingly, she's fine with it. She doesn't push, doesn't ask why I took longer than usual. It's like maybe she can sense that something's shifting, or maybe she's just relieved I'm still there, even if it's in a smaller way. But then, a few days later, the next test comes. My mom calls, and she's got that stressed out tone again, the one that usually leads to her asking for money. She says she's been having trouble covering a few unexpected expenses and asks if I could help out just this once. Now, I know better than to believe it'll be just this once, but still, I pause. I think about all the times I've bailed her out, all the times I've covered for my brother's financial messes, and I feel that familiar frustration rising up again. So I try something new. I say, Mom, I can't keep covering for you whenever things come up. Maybe it's time to have a serious talk with him about helping you out more. I'm half expecting her to get defensive or to brush it off, but she goes quiet instead. For a moment, I think maybe I've actually gotten through to her. But then she says, I don't want to stress him out. He's going through a tough time. It's the same old story. She doesn't want to pressure him, doesn't want to make things harder for him, and here I am, the dependable son who's supposed to just understand and pick up the slack without a fuss. So I take a deep breath and tell her, Mom, I'm always going to be here for you, but I can't keep doing this alone. It's not fair to expect me to handle everything while he just floats by. She sighs and says she'll think about it, which, let's be honest, is probably her way of saying she won't. After we hang up, I feel a weird mix of emotions. Part of me feels guilty for not immediately stepping in, but there's also this tiny sense of relief. Like maybe, for once, I actually set a boundary and stuck to it, even if it wasn't exactly what she wanted to hear. Over the next few weeks, I keep up with the boundaries, trying to find a balance between being there for her and not letting myself get sucked into the same old routine. My mom seems to adjust, though I can tell she's not thrilled. She still calls, still needs help, but I'm keeping it at a manageable level. I'm trying to take my wife's advice and focus more on my own family. And honestly, it's nice. For the first time in a while, I feel like I'm not completely stretched thin. Then, just when I'm starting to think this might actually work, I get a message from my mom's close friend, someone I haven't spoken to in ages. She says she wants to catch up, but I can tell there's more to it than that. She's not the type to just reach out of the blue. We meet for coffee, and after the small talk, she brings it up. She says, I thought you should know that your mom's been talking about her will lately. She's making some final decisions about everything. I nod, not thinking much of it, figuring it's just the usual stuff. But then she says, she's planning to leave everything to your brother. I'm sitting there, trying to keep a straight face, but inside, I feel like I just got hit by a truck. Everything? She's leaving everything to him? After all these years of me being the one who's there for her, taking care of everything, it's all going to him? My mom's friend, seeing my reaction, says, I thought you should know. I know how much you've done for her, and I thought you deserved to hear it. I don't even know what to say. I just nod, pretending to be fine, but my mind is racing. She's leaving everything to him, the same guy who only shows up when he needs money, who leaves her in a bind every time he's around, who I have to cover for. And me? I'm the one she calls when she's in trouble, the one who's always there to pick up the pieces. And she's giving everything to him? After I leave, I sit in my car, just processing it all. There's this mix of anger and hurt that I can't shake. It's not even about the money. I'm doing fine on my own. It's the fact that, despite everything I've done, she still sees him as the one who deserves it all. She still sees me as the dependable one who doesn't need anything from her, while he's the one she wants to take care of. For the next few days, I try to act like nothing's wrong, but every time I think about it, I feel that same bitterness creeping back. I've sacrificed so much for her, for both of them, really, and it feels like none of it mattered. All those missed family events, all the stress, all the money I've poured into helping her. It's like it's all invisible to her. Finally, I can't take it anymore. I call her, trying to keep my voice steady, and I ask her point blank if it's true that she's leaving everything to him. There's a pause, and then she says, "Well, yes, he needs it more, and you're doing fine, aren't you?" I don't even know how to respond. I sit there listening to her talk about how she just wants to make sure he's okay, how he's always struggled more, and how she knows I'll be fine. And all I can think is, after all this, she still doesn't see what I've done for her. She's still blinded by this idea that he's the one who needs her most, and I'm just the reliable backup. I don't argue with her. I just tell her that I understand and that I'll still be there if she needs me. But after I hang up, I feel like something's finally snapped inside me. After hanging up with my mom, I just sit there, staring at my phone. There's this weight in my chest that I can't shake, a mix of anger, hurt, and, honestly, a bit of confusion. It feels like everything I've done for her, all the sacrifices and the times I dropped everything to be there, meant nothing in the end. She's leaving everything to my brother, everything. And here I am, the one who's been the responsible, reliable one, expected to just be okay with it because, according to her, I'm doing fine. The next couple of days are a blur. I go about my usual routine, but everything feels off. I try to ignore it to tell myself that it doesn't matter. It's just money, right? I'm financially stable and I don't actually need her inheritance. But it's not about the money. It's about the fact that she sees him as the one who needs it more. That she still sees me as someone who's got everything figured out and doesn't need a thing from her. One night, I'm sitting at the dinner table with my wife, and I finally tell her everything. I tell her about the will, about how my mom's planning to leave everything to my brother. She just listens, nodding along, and then she sighs. "You know," she says, "you've always been there for her. You've been the one keeping everything together. And maybe she's so used to it that she doesn't realize how much it's cost you." Hearing her say that just makes the frustration bubble up even more. Because yeah, I've sacrificed so much. All those times I left my own family to take care of my mom, the money I've spent helping her when my brother left her with nothing, the vacations I've skipped because she needed me. And what do I get? Just the role of the dependable son who can fend for himself. I think back to all the times I've watched my mom hand my brother money, excuse his behavior, and praise him for the bare minimum. I've always brushed it off, convinced myself that it didn't matter. But now, it's like all of it has built up, and I can't ignore it anymore. A few days later, my mom calls again. She's chatting away, telling me about how my brother came by to visit and helped her fix a few things around the house. She goes on about how nice it was to see him, how he's trying so hard to get his life together. And I'm sitting there, listening to her go on about him like he's some kind of saint, and I can't take it anymore. "Mom," I say, interrupting her mid-sentence, "can we talk about the will?" There's a pause, and I can tell I've caught her off guard. She stammers a bit, then says, "Oh, well, I didn't think it was something we needed to discuss. You're doing well, aren't you?" I take a deep breath, trying to keep my tone calm. "It's not about the money, Mom. It's about the fact that you're leaving everything to him, after all the times I've been the one helping you." She sighs like I'm the one causing her trouble. "He needs it more than you do. You have a family, a steady job, a life that's going well. He's still struggling." I feel this wave of frustration, but I push through it. "And you don't think that maybe, just maybe, I'd like some recognition for everything I've done? For all the times I've been the one there for you, the one taking care of things?" There's a long silence. Finally, she says, "I didn't realize you felt that way. But he's always been, well, he's always been different. He needs more support, and I just assumed you didn't." Hearing that hits harder than I expected. It's like she's saying I don't need her, that I've never needed her, and all I'm good for is to be the one who's there when no one else is. I tell her I need to go, that I'll talk to her later, and I hang up. That night, I sit down and really think about what I want. I've been bending over backward for my mom and my brother, but for what? They've both made it clear that they see me as the one who doesn't need anything, the one who can take care of himself. And honestly, I'm tired of it. The next time my mom calls, she's asking me if I can help with another little expense. Apparently, my brother's been struggling again and she's short on cash. I take a deep breath and for the first time I tell her, I can't keep doing this, Mom. She's silent, like she didn't expect me to actually say no. Then she asks, what do you mean? I continue, that I can't keep bailing you out every time he takes from you. I have my own family, my own responsibilities, and I can't keep putting you and him ahead of that. She starts to protest, going on about how it's just this once and how he's trying so hard. But I don't let her finish. Mom, he's been trying for years. I've been the one there for you every time. But if you're going to keep giving everything to him, maybe he should be the one to take care of you. The line goes quiet, and for a moment I think maybe I've finally gotten through to her. But then she says, I didn't realize you felt this way. I thought you understood. And that's when it hits me. She's never going to change. She'll always see him as the one who needs her most, and she'll always see me as the one who's strong enough to handle everything without a second thought. After that call, I make a decision. I'll still be there for her, but I'm done putting my life on hold to clean up their messes. I'm done sacrificing my own family time, my own money, just to keep them afloat. I'm finally setting the boundary that I should have set years ago. Over the next few weeks, she tries to reach out a few times, asking for help here and there, but each time I stick to my guns. I tell her I'm busy, that she should ask my brother instead. She doesn't like it, and I can tell she's frustrated, but I know it's for the best. For the first time in a long time, I feel this sense of relief. I'm finally letting go of the weight I've been carrying for years, the weight of always being the dependable one. And yeah, it's bittersweet. There's a part of me that wishes things were different, that maybe she'd see the value in everything I've done. But now, I'm focused on my own family, my own life. I'm not waiting for her or my brother to appreciate what I've done, because I know that day's never coming. And as hard as it is to accept, it feels good to finally put myself first. I don't know what the future holds with them, but for now, I'm okay with that. Last update. After keeping some distance from my mom and brother, I think things might finally be settling down. But then, out of nowhere, I get a call from my aunt. She's someone I don't talk to often, so it takes me by surprise when she starts the conversation with, I'm so sorry for what's happening with your mom. Confused, I ask what she means, and that's when she drops it. Apparently, my mom's been going around telling everyone that I've abandoned her. According to my aunt, my mom has been spinning stories to the family, saying that I've left her to fend for herself, that I've turned my back on her, and that she has no one she can rely on except, of course, my brother. She's making it sound like I'm heartless, too busy with my own life to care for her. And, to add insult to injury, my brother's been backing her story, making little comments to family members about how he's doing everything he can to support her, even though we both know he barely lifts a finger. I feel this familiar anger boiling up, but it's mixed with something new, betrayal. All this time, I'd been breaking my back to help her, doing whatever I could to keep things together, and she's going around acting like I just cut her off? I realize it's not just about getting more help from the family. It's about guilt-tripping me back into my old role. She wants me to hear these rumors, to feel guilty, and to come running back like nothing's ever happened. But this time, I'm done. Instead of calling my mom or brother directly, I decide to take a different approach. I reach out to a few family members individually, the ones who've been most supportive and have seen a glimpse of the situation over the years. I explain everything, laying out the full story, the sacrifices I've made, the money I've spent to keep her afloat, the countless times I dropped everything to help her out, and how my brother has only ever been around to take. I even share a few texts and emails as proof, showing how often she's leaned on me and how my brother's barely done anything to help. The response is immediate. Family members start putting two and two together, realizing how much they've been misled. My mom's story starts to unravel, and within a week, word has spread through the family that things aren't exactly as she and my brother have made them out to be. My aunt calls me again, saying she had no idea it was that bad, and a few others apologize for believing the sob story without hearing my side. My brother tries to do some damage control, but by now it's too late. People have seen the proof, and no one's buying his "I've been the supportive one" act. My mom doesn't contact me directly, but through the grapevine, I hear she's furious. She's upset I exposed her to the family, as if I'm the one who betrayed her, not the other way around. With everything out in the open, I finally feel free. I don't need to justify my boundaries anymore, and I'm not constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next guilt trip. I cut ties with both of them, making it clear that I won't be part of their games anymore. My phone is quiet for the first time in years, and I'm actually able to focus on my own life, my own family, without constantly feeling pulled back into the chaos. But despite everything, I still feel a pang of guilt, knowing my mom might struggle financially now that I'm not around to bail her out. So I decide to set up a small, anonymous monthly deposit into her bank account, just enough to cover essentials. It's not much, and she'll never know it's from me, but at least I can sleep a bit easier knowing she won't be left completely high and dry, and in a way, it's a relief. I'm able to help her without letting myself get pulled back into her manipulative tactics, without giving her the satisfaction of knowing I'm still there in the background. I'm doing it on my terms this time, not because she pressured me into it. As time goes on, the family drama fades. My brother tries to reach out a couple of times, probably hoping to rekindle things now that he's lost his main source of financial support, but I ignore him. The rest of the family respects my decision to step back, and for the first time, I feel truly free. I don't have to play the role of the dependable one anymore. I'm just me, and that's enough. Story 4. This story is titled, "My Brother Told My Girlfriend I Was Cheating. She left me for him, and now the truth has finally come out." Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit, this is going to be a long post, and I've been sitting here for like an hour trying to figure out how to start. I guess I just need to get this story out somewhere, even if no one reads it. It's been 5 years, and some crazy stuff just happened that brought everything back up. So yeah, 28 male, grew up with an older brother. Let's call him Marcus, 30 male. And when I say Marcus was the favorite child, I mean he was the favorite. You know those Reddit posts where people talk about their parents playing favorites? Yeah, multiply that by like 1,000. Looking back now, it's actually kind of insane how obvious it was, but when you're a kid growing up in that environment, you just think it's normal. Let me give you some instances of what I mean. When we were in high school, Marcus got caught stealing money from our mom's purse. Not just a few bucks, he took like $200. You know what happened? Mom said he must have needed it for something important and just let it go. Meanwhile, I got grounded for a month because I forgot to take out the trash. I'm not even joking. Or this other time. Marcus crashed Dad's car when he was 17. He was texting while driving. Yeah, really smart. Instead of getting punished, my parents bought him his own car because he learned his lesson and needed reliable transportation for college. When I asked for help buying a car 2 years later, they told me I needed to learn responsibility and save up for it myself. It wasn't just the big stuff either. It was all the little things too. Every single day. Like during dinner, my parents would ask Marcus about his day, his friends, his plans. They'd sit there nodding and smiling at everything he said. But when it was my turn, "That's nice," was all I'd get. After a while, I just stopped trying to tell them anything. Marcus knew exactly what he was doing too. He wasn't just some clueless golden child. Nah, this dude was calculated. He had this way of twisting everything to make himself look good and me look bad. Like this one time in middle school, he broke Mom's favorite vase playing ball in the house, which we weren't supposed to do. Guess who got blamed? Yep, me. Because Marcus told them I dared him to do it, and he was just trying to make me happy. I was literally doing homework in my room when it happened. The worst part was that smirk he'd get whenever he pulled something like this off. You know that look someone gets when they know they've gotten away with something? That was his permanent expression around me. But only when our parents weren't looking, of course. To them, he was this perfect, caring older brother who was just looking out for his little bro. It got to the point where I just accepted that nothing I did would ever be good enough. I could have cured cancer, and they would have asked why I didn't cure all diseases like Marcus would have. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. The thing is, Marcus wasn't even that special. Like, he got decent grades, was okay at sports, had some friends, just a normal guy. But my parents treated him like he was God's gift to the world. Meanwhile, I was doing just as well in school, had my own friends, played sports too, But somehow that was never worth mentioning. I tried talking to my parents about it once when I was around 16. Bad idea. They told me I was being jealous and immature, and that I should try to be more like Marcus. More like Marcus. That was their solution to everything. It became this running joke in my head. Got a B instead of an A? Should have been more like Marcus. Girl turned me down for a date? Should have been more like Marcus. Raining outside? Well, if you were more like Marcus, it would have been sunny. Looking back now, I can see how all of this set up what happened later. How it made it so easy for him to do what he did. When you spend your whole life being the golden child who can do no wrong, I guess you start thinking you can get away with anything. And when you spend your whole life watching your brother manipulate everyone around him, you should probably see it coming when he finally turns that manipulation towards something you really care about. But I didn't see it coming. Even after everything I just wrote, even knowing what kind of person he was, I still didn't think he'd go as far as he did. Maybe that makes me naive, but I really thought that some things were off limits, even for him. Guess I was wrong about that too. So after dealing with all that family stuff I talked about, I focused on building my own life, landed a solid position at a marketing firm handling digital operations and troubleshooting. Nothing fancy, but it paid the bills, and I was good at it. That's where I met Rachel. It was during this company picnic thing in 2018. You know those forced fun work events where everyone pretends to enjoy hanging out with their co-workers? Yeah, one of those. I was hiding near the food table, best place to avoid small talk, trust me, when this girl walked up and said, I see we had the same idea about the strategic snack table position. That was Rachel. She worked in marketing, 2 floors up from my department. We got talking about how these events were basically corporate torture, and somehow ended up spending the whole afternoon just chatting. She had this way of making fun of things without being mean about it, if that makes sense. Like she'd point out how ridiculous something was, but in a way that made you laugh instead of feeling bitter. We started having lunch together at work. Nothing romantic at first, just two people trying to survive the corporate grind. Then one day she mentioned wanting to see this new Marvel movie, but none of her friends were into superhero stuff. I offered to go with her, smooth, right? We went to this small theater near work, and halfway through the movie, she grabbed my hand during this intense scene. She didn't let go even after the scene was over. Things just clicked after that. Rachel was different from anyone I dated before. She actually listened when I talked about stuff. Like, really listened. Not just waiting for her turn to speak. We could talk about serious things, stupid things, or just sit in comfortable silence. The first year was amazing. We'd do these random weekend trips. Just pick a direction and drive. After about 2 years, we moved in together. Got this small apartment that barely fit our combined stuff, but it was ours. That's when I started thinking about proposing. Even started saving up for a ring. And that's when Marcus came back into the picture. I hadn't seen him much since moving out of our parents' house. Just the occasional family dinner where I'd show up, stay an hour, then leave. But when he heard I was dating someone serious, thanks, Mom, he suddenly wanted to reconnect. At first, I wanted to believe it. Maybe he was growing up. Maybe he actually wanted to fix things between us. But then he started showing up at our apartment unannounced, always acting like it was casual, but I could tell he was watching, studying Rachel, testing the waters. He'd bring up my past relationships in front of her, little digs disguised as jokes. Man, you sure you want to settle down? You never had the best track record with commitment. Hope this one works out better than the others. And then there was the way he talked to her. The compliments that lingered just a little too long. The playful teasing that never crossed a clear line, but somehow felt like it did. He'd lean in when he laughed at her jokes, always finding an excuse to touch her arm. He'd remember things she mentioned offhand, bringing them up later like he was the one who truly listened. And Rachel? She actually liked him. Said he was charming, funny, thought it was sweet how he was trying to be a better brother. That's the thing about Marcus. He could make anyone believe anything. And me? I told myself I was overthinking it, that I was just being paranoid, that he was trying to be better, although I brought it up to Rachel many times. But I tried to ignore that gut feeling, the one telling me that Marcus never wanted to reconnect. Turned out he wanted to take. I remember the last normal day we had. We were just lounging around the apartment. Rachel was grading some marketing reports. I was fixing her laptop that had been acting up. Everything was just peaceful. I keep thinking about that day, about how I had no idea what was coming, about how I should have held on to her tighter or said something more meaningful. But you never know when your last normal day is going to be, right? It all started with a work conference in Seattle. Rachel couldn't come because she had this big marketing campaign launching that week. So yeah, I went alone. I actually took lots of pictures while I was there, posted updates on our group chat with Rachel and some friends, even FaceTimed with Rachel every night. showing her the view from my hotel room. The conference ended on Thursday. I flew back Friday morning, grabbed some coffee at the airport, and headed straight to work because I had a bunch of stuff to catch up on. Everything seemed normal. Rachel texted me about meeting up for dinner later. I remember replying, "Can't wait to see you," like an idiot who had no idea his life was about to implode. Around 3 p.m., Rachel showed up at my office. I thought she was just surprising me, but when I looked up from my computer, her face was wrong. She was holding her phone so tight her knuckles were white. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there shaking. "Can you explain this?" she finally said, and showed me her phone. It was a video. Of me. Except, it wasn't me, but it was. Like it looked exactly like me, down to the shirt I'd worn to the conference. In the video, I was kissing some girl in what looked like a hotel lobby. The video quality was disturbingly good. If I hadn't known for a fact that I spent every evening in my hotel room watching Netflix and FaceTiming Rachel, I might have questioned myself. The lighting was perfect, the movements looked natural, even the background matched the hotel I stayed at. It was like watching a version of me I didn't recognize, doing something I knew I hadn't done. I immediately started explaining. "Rachel, this isn't real. I wasn't there. I never even left my room after work." I pulled up my phone, scrolling frantically. "Look, my location history, my Google timeline, it shows exactly where I was." I held it out to her, my heart pounding. "You know me. You know I wouldn't do this." But Rachel barely glanced at my screen, her expression cold. "Don't lie to me," she snapped. "I can see you in the video. It's you, wearing the exact same clothes you had at that conference. Same hotel, same everything. What? Am I supposed to believe someone just magically made this up?" I opened my mouth, but the words stuck. The video looked too real. The details, the way I moved, the way I turned my head, it was perfect. Someone had put serious effort into this. Even the grainy timestamp in the corner made it look like legitimate security footage. "I swear, Rachel," I said, desperation creeping into my voice. "This isn't me." She shook her head, taking a step back. "I can't do this," she muttered, voice cracking. "I can't be with someone who lies straight to my face." And just like that, I felt everything slipping through my fingers. While I was trying to explain, my office phone started ringing. It was Marcus. He was all worried, saying Rachel had called him crying about some video, asking if I was okay, if there was anything he could do to help, playing the concerned brother perfectly. That's when I started piecing it together. The way Marcus had been hanging around so much, how he always seemed to know our schedules. He must have been planning this for weeks, maybe months. I knew he had a hit at my girlfriend from the beginning, but I still wasn't really sure if it's him. Rachel wasn't hearing any of it, though. She kept rewatching the video, pointing out details. "That's exactly how you walk," she said. "That's the suit you packed for the conference dinner." She was right. The details were perfect. Too perfect. "Marcus warned me about this," she muttered, still staring at the screen. "He said you'd try to lie. He told me how guys always say it's fake when they get caught, that they start scrambling, throwing around excuses, trying to make you doubt what you're seeing with your own eyes." She looked up then, and the hurt in her face cut deeper than anything. I didn't want to believe him. But look at this. Look at you. What else am I supposed to think? I knew it. Marcus had gotten to her first. He had already poisoned her mind against me, setting the stage so no matter what I said, I'd sound like the guilty one scrambling to cover his tracks. And the worst part? He was the only person who could have done this. The only one who had access to me, my schedule, my clothes, my habits. The only one who had a reason to go this far. The worst part? Some of our coworkers saw Rachel crying in my office. Within an hour, everyone knew. You know how office gossip works. It spreads faster than a virus. By the end of the day, my boss called me in for a discussion about company values. I went home that night to an empty apartment. Rachel had packed a bag and gone to stay with her friend. The next morning, I got a message from Rachel saying she'd found more evidence. Marcus had somehow manufactured a whole trail. Fake hotel receipts, more security camera footage, even faked text messages. He'd thought of everything. I stared at my screen, trying to make sense of it. Where had this even come from? How did he have access to all this? The receipts, the timestamps, the footage? It wasn't just some thrown-together attempt to frame me. This was deliberate. This took planning. And that's what made my skin crawl. The sheer amount of effort he put into this. The level of detail. How far had he gone? I couldn't just sit there. I needed answers. That night, I drove straight to Marcus's place, barely remembering the turns. By the time I banged on his door, he opened it with that same smug expression I'd seen 100 times growing up, leaning lazily against the frame like this was nothing more than an inconvenience. Wow, you look terrible, he said, smirking. Rough couple of days? I shoved past him into his apartment, barely holding myself together. I know it was you. My voice was low, dangerous. He just laughed. You think I have time to ruin your life? Please? You're not that important. I wanted to hit him. Really wanted to. My fists curled at my sides, my whole body thrumming with adrenaline. But that's what he wanted. He was waiting for me to snap, to give him an excuse to play the victim. Then explain the receipts, the footage, the texts. Explain how Rachel just happened to get a perfect trail of proof after talking to you. He just shrugged. Maybe she finally opened her eyes and saw you for what you are? Or maybe he leaned in slightly, lowering his voice like he was letting me in on a joke. You're just desperate to blame someone else because you can't admit what you did. My hands twitched, ready to swing. I took a step forward, and for the first time, I saw something flicker across his face. Anticipation. He wanted this to escalate. I forced myself to take a step back. If I hit him, he'd use it, twist it, turn it into something even worse. I exhaled sharply, my fists shaking as I backed toward the door. You're a liar, Marcus, and you're going to regret that. And you're pathetic. His voice was dripping with amusement. But hey, good luck proving it. I slammed the door so hard behind me that the walls rattled, but it didn't make me feel any better. That weekend was a blur. Rachel wouldn't answer my calls. My boss had put me on administrative leave pending investigation. Marcus was texting me about how disappointed he was, offering to help me get therapy for my issues. By Monday morning, my life was pretty much over. I walked into work and security was waiting for me at the entrance. They had a box with my stuff from my desk. My key card didn't work anymore. Just like that. 5 years at the company, gone. My boss sent this super corporate email about maintaining our company's reputation and upholding moral standards. HR followed up with some paperwork about how they were terminating my employment effective immediately. Nobody even asked for my side of the story. I tried calling Rachel again. Her friend picked up instead, told me to stop harassing her, and that they'd get a restraining order if I didn't back off. That hit hard. Rachel and I had promised to always talk things through, no matter what. Now she wouldn't even hear me out. Then my phone started blowing up. Apparently, Rachel's friend had posted something on Facebook about supporting her friend through a terrible betrayal. Tagged a bunch of our mutual friends. People I'd known for years started unfriending me. Got messages calling me every name in the book. My best friend from college, guy I'd known for 12 years, texted me, "Dude, saw the video. Never thought you'd do something like that." I only sent to him the word fake. He left me on red. Never heard from him again. But things escalated when my parents got involved. Marcus had shown them the video. Instead of questioning why their perfect son had this video in the first place, they called to tell me how disappointed they were. My mom was crying about how she raised me better than this. I tried explaining everything. I showed them proof, my location history, the impossible timeline, the way Marcus had been acting strange for weeks. I pointed out all the inconsistencies, the details that didn't add up. But Dad just sighed, shaking his head like he was disappointed. You need to take responsibility for your actions, instead of making excuses and blaming your brother. Mom wouldn't even look at me. Her arms were crossed tight, eyes fixed on the floor, like acknowledging me at all was too painful. The silence from her hurt more than anything Dad said. My older sister Lisa, who lives in Canada and barely talks to any of us, was the only one who messaged me saying something felt off about the whole thing. But she was dealing with her own stuff and couldn't really help. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Couldn't get job interviews because the story had spread through my professional network. My landlord heard about it somehow and decided not to renew my lease. Even my regular coffee shop started giving me weird looks. My savings were draining fast. Unemployment wasn't going to cover my rent for long. I started selling stuff. My gaming PC, my bike, anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. Kept thinking about all those times I'd helped other people when they were struggling, and now nobody would even answer my calls. The only person who stuck around was my friend Mike from my gym. He didn't buy the whole cheating story. Said something about how Marcus gave him weird vibes. Mike was the only one who actually listened to me. One night, sitting in my half-empty apartment, Rachel had taken most of our shared stuff, I hit rock bottom. Staring at my phone, watching people I thought were friends share posts about showing true colors and karma. That's when Mike called. "Pack your stuff," he said. "All of it. I'm coming over with my truck." I started to argue, but he cut me off. "Look, man, there's nothing left for you here. My cousin owns a gym in Portland. Says he needs help running it. It's not marketing work, but it's something. We're leaving tomorrow. That's how I ended up throwing whatever I had left into Mike's pickup truck at 5 a.m. on a Tuesday. Left my key in the mailbox, drove away from 5 years of my life like it was nothing. That morning in Mike's truck, that was when my old life officially ended. Everything I thought I knew about loyalty, love, family, it all changed. But sometimes you need to lose everything to see who's really got your back. Portland was nothing like I imagined. Mike's cousin Dave ran this old school gym in a brick building that had definitely seen better days. No fancy machines or smoothie bars, just basic equipment, free weights, and regulars who'd been coming there for decades. First couple weeks, I slept on Mike's couch. Dave let me work at the gym, mostly cleaning equipment, restocking supplies, basic maintenance stuff. Pay was terrible, but I didn't have many options. My marketing resume might as well have been toilet paper, with all the bad references floating around. But slowly, the gym became more than just a job. The people there didn't know about my past, didn't care about some video or drama. They just cared if you showed up, put in the work, and treated others with respect. Mike and I talked about opening our own gym, something better than Dave's outdated setup. 6 months later, we launched with 3 working treadmills, a pile of free weights, and 0 customers. My marketing? Just flyers in coffee shops and blind hope. The first month, we barely covered half our expenses, but word spread. People liked our no-nonsense approach over the fancy corporate gyms. I started helping beginners with their form, realized I was good at it, and began offering personal training. Losing my marketing career might have been the best thing that happened to me. Less money, but for the first time in forever, I was actually happy. But my life really changed when I met Anna, a kindergarten teacher with a wrecked spine from working with kids all day. She showed up at the gym nervous, admitted she had no idea what she was doing, and by the end of our session, she asked to train with me specifically. Over time, our sessions turned into conversations. I looked forward to them more than I wanted to admit. When Mike pointed out how much I talked about her, I realized I had feelings. Next session, I asked her out, and she just smiled and said, "I was wondering when you'd ask." Dating her was different. She never pushed about my past, just waited until I was ready. 6 months in, I told her everything, and instead of questioning me, she just hugged me and said, "Thank you for trusting me." That's when I knew she was the one. Then we moved in together. Her place, since it had a great balcony garden and a cat, Princess, who liked me from day one. Eventually, I married her, because when you find someone who truly sees you, you don't let them go. Now we've got twins, Ben and Sarah, age 4. They're basically tiny tornadoes that somehow learn to talk. Anna's amazing with them, obviously. Me? Still figuring out this dad thing, but they seem to like me okay. The gym's doing great. Added a kids area so parents can work out while their kids play. Anna teaches a weekend yoga class now too. We're not rich, but we're happy. Built something real, something honest. I thought that was my happy ending. Normal life, beautiful family, successful business. Finally felt like I'd put the past behind me. But lately, I got a message from an old friend, let's call him Chris. Chris's message was just a video attachment with the text, "You need to see this." Almost deleted it without watching. Chris was part of my old life. Hadn't talked to him since everything went down. But something made me click play. The video was shaky, filmed in some club back home. Music blasting in the background, people shouting over each other. Then Marcus appears on screen, barely standing straight, hanging onto the bar for support. He's talking loud, showing off to some girls at the bar. "You want to hear something crazy?" Marcus slurs in the video. "Remember my brother? The one who moved away? Man, I really messed him up good." He's laughing like it's the funniest thing ever. Found this guy online, real professional with all that AI stuff. Cost me like 15 grand, but worth every penny. Made this perfect video, looked exactly like my brother cheating. Even matched his clothes from his work trip. The girls don't look impressed, but Marcus keeps going. His girlfriend believed it immediately. Should have seen her face. Everyone believed it. Lost his job, his friends, everything. Just like that. He snaps his fingers and almost falls over. Best part? Nobody even questioned it. My parents still think he's the bad guy. They don't know their perfect son paid some Russian dude to make fake videos. More laughing. Chris's voice comes from behind the camera. "Dude, that's messed up. Why would you do that to your own brother?" Marcus gets this weird look on his face. Because he had everything I wanted. Good job, nice girlfriend, everyone liked him. He didn't deserve any of it. I just fixed things. The video ends there. I knew he was behind everything, but I still watched it maybe 20 times, replaying every word, every smirk. And then it hit me. $15,000. My brother spent 15 grand only to destroy my life. Not just on fake receipts or manipulated messages, but on something bigger. The way the video was made, how seamless it looked, how even I had doubted myself for a second. This wasn't some cheap trick, this was something else. I felt my stomach drop. That's when I finally understood. Just sat there staring at my phone, my mind unraveling, until Anna found me. She watched it once, got real quiet, then asked what I wanted to do. Before I could answer, more messages started coming in. The video had spread. Chris showed it to some people at the club. They shared it around. My parents called first. Mom crying so hard I could barely understand her. Dad trying to apologize but not really knowing what to say. Kept talking about how they should have known and how could Marcus do this. Like they were the victims here. Then came the messages from old friends. Lots of, "Man, I'm so sorry, and I should have believed you." Each one felt like a slap. "Where was all this support 5 years ago?" Rachel messaged too. A long, emotional paragraph filled with guilt and regret. Apparently, after I left, she and Marcus got married. They even have a kid now. But her message felt different. Less about apologies, more about urgency. She said she needed to tell me something important, that it couldn't wait, and asked if we could talk in person. Then she sent another message. "It's about your nephew." Nephew. That word hit me like a truck. Did the math in my head? Timing matched up. Rachel got pregnant right after everything went down, right after she got together with Marcus. She kept messaging. Told me Marcus took off when she told him about the baby. Hasn't paid child support. Won't even acknowledge the kid. She's struggling, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. She also admitted how much she suffered in their relationship, dealing with his manipulation and carrying the weight of it all alone. Watching her believe Marcus over me without a second thought. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied, like she was finally getting a taste of what his manipulation felt like. But seeing her struggling alone with a kid, dealing with the same lies and games I went through, it just felt hollow. Yeah, she should have believed me back then, should have known better. But Marcus fooled everyone, not just her. And now there's an innocent kid caught in the middle of all this mess. I showed Anna the messages. She just held my hand and said, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." That's the kind of person she is. Doesn't tell me what to do, just supports whatever choice I make. Mike came over when I told him what happened. Brought pizza, sat on our back porch while I tried to process everything. Asked me what my gut was telling me to do. "The kid's innocent," I said. "He didn't choose any of this." Mike nodded. "So what are you thinking? Spent all night talking it through with Anna?" She pointed out something I hadn't considered. This could be a chance to break the cycle. Show my kids what it means to be a good person, even when people hurt you. Next morning, I called my lawyer. Set up a trust fund for the kid, enough to cover education and give him a good start in life. Made it clear, the money's for him, not Rachel or Marcus. Monthly deposits, but no contact. Don't want to confuse him about who's who in his life. Rachel messaged again, asking to meet, to explain everything. Anna said I should do whatever gives me peace. But honestly, I don't need explanations anymore. The video showed me everything I need to know. My parents keep trying to visit, want to meet their grandkids, try to make things right, but I can't risk letting them hurt my children the way they hurt me. "Some bridges stay burned," wrote Marcus a short message. "I saw the video. Money's been set up for your son's future. Don't contact me again." He tried calling multiple times, left voicemails about being sorry, about changing, about wanting to make things right. Deleted them all without listening to the end. Tomorrow I'm taking Ben and Sarah to the zoo. Anna's packing a picnic. Mike and his new girlfriend are coming too. That's what matters now. The family we chose, the life we built. The truth came out, but it didn't set me free or give me closure or any of that stuff. Just confirmed what I already knew. Sometimes there's no fixing the past. You just have to build something better for the future. Final update. Thanks guys for sticking with this story. Here's how everything turned out. It's been 3 months since Chris sent that video. Life's different now, but not in the way I expected. Getting your name cleared after 5 years isn't like in the movies. There's no big moment of victory, no satisfying revenge scene, just a lot of complicated feelings and messy situations to deal with. Rachel keeps sending photos of her kid, my nephew. He's got the same dark hair I had at that age. She says he loves dinosaurs and wants to be a firefighter. Each photo feels like looking at what could have been, in some other version of my life where things went differently. The trust fund is set up properly now. My lawyer made sure it's airtight. Money goes directly to education and basic needs. Rachel can submit receipts for reimbursement, but can't touch the principal amount. The kid gets control when he turns 21. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to give him options in life. Found out Marcus lost his job when the video went viral. Apparently, his company didn't like having someone who spent thousands on deepfake videos to frame their own brother. He tried showing up at my parents' house, but they wouldn't let him in. Karma's weird like that. My sister came to visit last month. First time seeing her in years. She watched the twins playing in our backyard and just started crying. Said she should have done more, should have known something was wrong. I told her she's the only one who even questioned things back then. My parents still don't get it. They send emails about healing as a family and moving forward together. Last week, Mom mailed this whole photo album of my childhood pictures. Like somehow seeing photos of when we were happy would make everything okay. But I don't care about any of that anymore. The gym's expanding now. Got a second location opening across town. Mike's running that one, while I handle the original. Last week, this new client came in. Guy looked really familiar. Turned out he was from my old company. He didn't recognize me at first, then got super awkward when he realized who I was. Started apologizing about believing the video, about how everyone at the office feels terrible now. Told him not to worry about it. Set him up with a training program for his back pain. Sometimes the best revenge is just being good at what you do. Anna thinks I should write a book about everything that happened. Says it might help other people who've been falsely accused or lost everything. Maybe someday. Right now, I'm just focused on the life we've built. Rachel sent another message yesterday. Says my nephew's asking questions about his dad, about his family. Wants to know if I'd consider meeting him someday. Haven't responded yet. Not sure I ever will. And oh, Anna's pregnant again. Found out last week. Girl this time, according to the ultrasound. We're not telling many people yet, but feels right sharing it here, with all you strangers who listen to my story. Sometimes I wonder what I'd tell my younger self if I could go back to that day when everything fell apart. Probably that losing everything would lead to building something better. That the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. That sometimes the worst things people do to you end up pushing you toward your best life. The twins are calling. Time for our Saturday morning pancake tradition. Thanks for reading all this, Reddit. Writing it out helped more than I expected. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards and kind messages. To answer some common questions, yes, the gym's doing great. No, I'm not planning to reconcile with Marcus. Yes, Ben and Sarah really do teach their toys proper lifting form. It's adorable. Edit 2. Stop messaging me about selling my story to Netflix. Not interested. This isn't that kind of story. Story 5. My dad demanded, "You will pay for your stepbrother's college." 8 years after he kicked my brother and me out. I said no and exposed his lies to the entire family. Sup Reddit. I was kicked out at 18. Built a life. Then took my brother in when he faced the same bullshit. After 8 years of silence, my stepmother found out I'm paying for my brother's college. And my dad called me demanding I pay for my stepbrother's tuition too. What followed was an absolute shit show. Here's what went down. 11 years ago, when I, 30 male, was 17, and my little brother Elias was 10, our mom died. Cancer's a bitch. And watching her waste away for 2 years pretty much broke something in all of us. Dad? He handled it like a real champion, by basically checking out mentally around month 18 of her treatment. Mom hadn't even been cold for 3 days when Dad's on his phone, not making funeral arrangements, but downloading freaking Tinder. I caught him swiping through profiles while I'm trying to write Mom's obituary, because he couldn't find the right words. Yeah, turns out the right words were recently widowed, ready to mingle. 3 months later, Dad announces he's been seeing someone. Her name was Karen, and before you ask, yes, she lived up to every stereotype that name carries. She was this bottle-blonde suburban mom type who drove a white Escalade and had strong opinions about organic everything. Came with her own baggage, too. An 8-year-old son named Dylan, who looked like he'd never seen the sun and had the personality of wet toast. But here's the kicker. Karen seemed nice at first. She laughed at my dumb jokes, remembered that Elias liked extra cheese on his pizza, and didn't immediately try to redecorate Mom's house with live, laugh, love bullshit. I actually thought maybe this could work. Maybe we could be some kind of blended family sitcom where everyone learns valuable lessons and hugs it out by episode's end. Nope, I was wrong. 6 months after Mom died, Dad drops the bomb at dinner. Karen and I are getting married, he announces, like he's telling us about a dentist appointment. And Dylan's going to be your new brother. Karen's sitting there with this fake smile. Elias looks at me with these wide eyes, and I can practically see the wheels turning in his head. When? I ask, because someone had to. Next month. We're thinking a small ceremony, just family. The wedding was exactly what you'd expect. Tacky, rushed, and awkward as hell. But the real fun started when they moved in together. See, Dad owned Mom's house. The house where Elias and I grew up. Karen took one look at it and decided it needed a woman's touch, which apparently meant erasing every trace of Mom's existence. First, it was little things. Mom's coffee mugs disappeared, replaced by some generic set Karen bought at Target. The throw pillows Mom had crocheted got tossed for these ugly beige ones. Mom's recipe box mysteriously ended up in the garage sale pile. I caught that one just in time. These are Mom's recipes, I told Karen when I found the box marked for sale. Oh, I just thought since I do all the cooking now, she said with this innocent shrug that fooled absolutely no one. Yeah, well, you thought wrong. I took the box to my room and never let it out of my sight again. But the recipes were just the beginning. Next came the pictures. Karen started reorganizing the photo albums, which meant any picture of Mom got relegated to boxes in the attic. The family photos on the mantle? Suddenly they all featured the new blended family with Mom airbrushed out of history. And Dylan? Dylan was the golden child from day one. This kid couldn't wipe his own ass without getting a standing ovation. Failed a math test? Oh, Dylan's more of a creative type. Broke something? Accidents happen. Meanwhile, if Elias forgot to put his dishes in the dishwasher, it was a federal case. I tried to be the buffer. When Karen made snide comments about Elias's attitude, I'd redirect. When Dad blew off Elias's school events for Dylan's games, I'd go instead. When Dylan accidentally broke Elias's stuff, I'd replace it with my own money from my hardware store job. But I was fighting a losing battle. The house rules got ridiculous. Dylan got his own bathroom. Elias shared the hall one with guests. Dylan got first pick of TV time. Dylan's friends were always welcome, but we had to ask permission 24 hours in advance. It's about learning respect and responsibility, Karen would say whenever I called out the bullshit. Things really went to shit around my senior year. I was turning 18 in 3 months, and Dad started making these comments about me preparing for the real world and learning to be independent. At first, I figured it was just normal dad stuff. Then, I overheard the conversation that changed everything. I was coming back from my friend Jake's house and heard Dad and Karen talking in the kitchen. Can't afford to keep supporting them forever, Karen was saying. I know, but they're my kids. And Dylan's your kid too now. We need to think about his future, his college fund. You can't keep splitting resources between 3 boys when one of them isn't even really yours. I stood there in the hallway, heart pounding. My own father was discussing kicking me out like we were unwanted roommates. That's when I realized we weren't family anymore. We were obstacles to Karen's perfect little nuclear family fantasy. And Dad? Dad was willing to sacrifice his own blood to make his new wife happy. I crept upstairs and found Elias in his room, doing homework. He looked up when I came in, and I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost because he immediately asked, "What's wrong? How do you explain that the man who's supposed to protect you is actively conspiring to get rid of you?" "Nothing, buddy," I said, sitting on his bed. "Just promise me something, okay? No matter what happens, you know you can always count on me. Always." He nodded, confused but trusting. "Are you going somewhere?" I couldn't answer. On my 18th birthday. Karen made dinner, Dylan's favorite meal naturally, and there was this awkward cake with "Happy Birthday" written in grocery store frosting. Dad gave me a card with $50 and asked me to stay after dinner. "Son, you're a man now. Time to start making your own way in the world. Your mother and I always planned that once you kids turned 18, you'd become independent. Character building." "What exactly are you saying, Dad?" "Time for you to find your own place, get your own job, start your adult life. So you're kicking me out on my 18th birthday. I'm launching you into adulthood. There's a difference." Sure there was. When? End of the week. Gives you time to figure out arrangements. I went upstairs and called Jake. He answered on the second ring. "Dude, what's up?" "Jake, I need a favor. A big one." 20 minutes later, Jake and his dad Tom were at my door. Tom was everything my father wasn't. Steady, reliable, the kind of guy who coached Little League not for the glory, but because kids needed positive role models. When Mom was sick, Tom had been the one to drive me to practice when Dad was too busy with work. Jake and I had been best friends since we were 7. His mom used to joke that they should just adopt me since I spent more time at their house than my own. After Mom died, that joke started feeling less like a joke and more like a prediction. "So," Tom said, after I explained the situation, "your father is kicking you out 3 months before you graduate high school because you turned 18? It's character building," I said, and even I could hear the bitterness in my voice. Tom looked at Jake, then back at me. "Pack your stuff. You're staying with us until you figure out what's next." I spent the next 3 days moving my stuff to Jake's house. Dad helped me carry boxes to my car, acting all helpful and supportive, like he was doing me a favor. Karen made a big show of being sad to see me go, but I caught her measuring my room with a tape measure the day before I left, probably planning Dylan's expansion into a suite. The worst part was leaving Elias. My little brother stood in the driveway, trying not to cry, and I felt like the biggest piece of shit in the world for abandoning him. But what choice did I have? I was 18, with $300 to my name, and no legal rights to take him with me. It's not forever, I told him. I'll call you every day, and whatever happens, you tell me, okay? He nodded, wiping his eyes. Will you still come to my baseball games? Every single one, I promised. Jake and I graduated together in May. Dad showed up, took pictures, acted proud for the cameras. But when other parents were talking about college plans, Dad was nowhere to be found. College was supposed to start in the fall. I'd gotten into state university, decent grades, nothing spectacular but good enough. Problem was, my college fund had apparently evaporated when Mom died. Dad claimed there was nothing left after medical expenses, but somehow Dylan's future was still bright and well-funded. So instead of freshman orientation, I was filling out job applications. 4.5 years. That's how long it took me to claw my way through college while working full-time and watching my little brother slowly get erased from his own family. 4.5 years of microwaved food, energy drinks, and 3 hours of sleep when I was lucky. I landed a spot at some warehouse loading trucks from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then I'd drive across town to work at a Shell station from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. Jake was going to state university, living in the dorms, doing normal college kid stuff. We'd hang out when our schedules aligned, but I could see him pulling away. Not intentionally. We were just living in different worlds now. He was worried about midterms and fraternity parties. I was worried about making rent and keeping the lights on. His parents, Tom and Linda, never made me feel like a burden, but I knew I couldn't live in their basement forever. So I found a shitty studio apartment about 6 months into college, $400 a month for 300 square feet of character, and a bathroom I shared with whatever was living in the walls. But it was mine. The warehouse job was brutal, but honest. Show up, move heavy shit, go home. Pure physical work that left me too tired to think about how screwed up my family situation was. The gas station job was worse. Night shift at a Shell in a questionable neighborhood, dealing with drunks, crackheads, and teenagers. Got robbed twice. Once by a guy with a knife who seemed more nervous than I was, once by some kid who couldn't have been older than 15. During all this, I kept my promise to Elias, called him every single day, even when I was dead on my feet. Kid was growing up fast. Too fast, really. But more than that, he was becoming strategic about surviving in that house. I don't argue with Karen anymore, he told me during one of our calls. It's easier. My little brother was learning to disappear in his own home. It made me sick, but what could I do? Call Dad and complain? He'd made his choice years ago. Meanwhile, Dylan was living like a freaking prince. Private music lessons, travel baseball, new clothes every season. Karen would post pictures on Facebook of her boys at various events and activities, but somehow Elias was never in those photos. I started documenting everything, not consciously at first, just keeping records for my own sanity. Screenshots of Facebook posts showing Dylan's new car, new laptop, vacation photos. Receipts from the gifts I'd buy Elias because no one else would. Notes from our phone conversations about what was happening in that house. Looking back, I think some part of me knew this information would be useful someday. Community college started in January. I'd saved enough for part-time tuition and books, barely. Lived off dollar menu burgers and gas station coffee. Studied in my car during breaks. Fell asleep in the library more times than I can count. It was exhausting and depressing and completely worth it, because every credit hour was proof that Dad was wrong about me. College wasn't just school for me, it was escape. My grades weren't perfect, but they were consistent. B's and A's, Dean's List 3 semesters, not bad for someone studying in a gas station bathroom. During one of our phone calls, Elias told me about Dylan's 16th birthday party. Dad bought him a car, Elias said, trying to sound casual. A Camaro. Brand new. A freaking Camaro. For a kid who'd never worked a day in his life. Meanwhile, I'm driving a 2003 Honda with 200,000 miles and a check engine light that's been on so long I've named it. My birthday's coming up, he said quietly. I'm not expecting a car or anything, but maybe. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. We both knew there wouldn't be a car or a party or anything close to what Dylan had gotten. So I started saving for Elias's 18th birthday that night. Every extra dollar, every tip from the gas station, every returned can and bottle went into a jar labeled E's Freedom Fund. Because I had a feeling that when my little brother turned 18, he'd get the same speech I'd gotten. I graduated on a Thursday in December. Not the traditional spring ceremony. I'd been taking classes year-round to finish faster. Tom and Linda came to the ceremony. cheering louder than anyone when I walked across that stage. Jake was there too, proud of his friend who'd somehow pulled this off. Dad didn't come. Didn't even know I was graduating, actually, since we hadn't spoken in 2 years. Found out later that Elias had asked him about it, mentioned that his brother was finishing college soon. Dad's response? Good for him. That was it. But you know what? Screw him. I didn't graduate for his approval. I graduated for me, for Elias, and for Mom. I knew she would be proud. The job offers started coming in during my last semester. The skills I developed juggling 2 jobs in school were exactly what logistics companies were looking for. I accepted a position with Meridian Supply Solutions. $45,000 starting salary, health benefits, 401k matching. It felt like winning the lottery. My first real apartment was a 1-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. It had a full kitchen, a bathroom that didn't require sharing, and windows that actually opened. The promotion to senior analyst came after 18 months. Another $15,000. I was good at this work. Really good. By the time I turned 25, I was making $75,000 and had just been promoted to regional manager. Had my own office, my own team, respect from executives twice my age. And through it all, kept calling Elias. Watched him grow into a smart, resilient young man who'd learned to survive in a house where he wasn't wanted. 3 months before his 18th birthday, I moved to a bigger place. 2 bedrooms, good school district, everything a kid would need to finish high school and start college. The day he turned 18 and learned that Dad's definition of independence was just as screwed up the second time around. I'd been expecting this call for months. Hell, I'd been preparing for it for 7 years. But when my phone rang at 11:47 p.m. and I saw Elias's name on the screen, my stomach still dropped. He did it, Elias said before I could even say hello. His voice was steady, but I could hear the hurt underneath. Same speech you got. I was sitting in my living room, and for a second I was 18 again, sitting in Dad's kitchen getting kicked to the curb. He laughed. Karen was standing right behind him the whole time, nodding along like a freaking bobblehead. Of course she was. Karen had been planning this moment for years, just like she'd planned mine. Dad said I have until Sunday to make arrangements. Sunday. 3 days. At least I'd gotten a week. Pack your stuff, I told him. I'm coming to get you. You don't have to. Like hell I don't. You're not staying in that house another minute longer than necessary. There was silence on the other end, and for a second I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard him crying, maybe for the first time since Mom died. I thought maybe it would be different, he said. Maybe because I kept my head down, got good grades, never caused problems. Maybe he'd actually want me to stay. And there it was. The thing that broke me. After everything Dad and Karen had put him through, some part of Elias still hoped for their approval. Listen to me, I said. This isn't about you. This is about him choosing his new family over us. I drove over there that night with my truck and Jake. Yeah, Jake. Still my best friend after all these years. When I'd called him and explained what was happening, he didn't hesitate. Same as last time? He asked. Same as last time. We pulled up to the house at 12:30 a.m. All the lights were off except Elias's window. Dad's car was in the driveway. Karen's Escalade parked behind it like always. Elias was waiting for us with 3 garbage bags and a cardboard box. 7 years of his life in that house, and it all fit in my truck bed with room to spare. You sure about this? Jake asked as we loaded the bags. No going back once we leave. Elias looked at the house, then at us. There's nothing to go back to. Smart kid. He'd figured out what took me 18 years to learn. We drove back to my place in silence. I'd already set up the spare bedroom, bed, desk, dresser, everything a high school senior would need. Had a talk with the school district about transferring his records. Made sure he could finish his senior year without any disruption. When we got to my apartment, he just stood in the middle of the living room looking around. Damn, this is really happening, he said. Yeah, it's really happening. You hungry? We ended up ordering pizza at 2 a.m. and staying up until dawn talking. Not about Dad or Karen or the mess we'd left behind, but about the future. About all the possibilities that opened up when you weren't constantly walking on eggshells. The next morning, I laid down the ground rules. Same ones Tom Miller had given me when I moved in with them. Stay out of trouble, help around the house, keep your grades up. You do that, and you can focus on being a kid instead of working 3 jobs like I did. I want to get a job, Elias said. I want to contribute. You don't have to. I want to, he insisted. I've never had my own money. I want to know what that feels like. So he got a job at a local restaurant, bussing tables on weekends. For 8 years, 8 damn years, we had 0 contact with Dad, Karen, and Dylan. Radio silence. It was like they'd never existed. And honestly, We were better off. Elias finished high school with a 3.9 GPA. Got into state university on an academic scholarship. Not a full ride, but enough to cover most of tuition. I told him I'd handle the rest, that he should focus on school and not worry about money. You sure? He asked. College is expensive. So is therapy, I said. And I'd rather pay for your education than pay someone to listen to your rant. He laughed at that, but I was serious. Every dollar I spent on his college was a screw you to Dad's philosophy. During those 8 years, I kept climbing the ladder. Regional manager became district manager, became vice president of operations. By 30, I was pulling in 6 figures and had a corner office with a view. I met Sarah in 2021. She was a marketing director I'd met through work. Smart, funny, and completely unimpressed by corporate bullshit. When I told her about my family situation, she didn't try to fix it or suggest reconciliation. She just said, their loss, and meant it. Sarah loved Elias like the little brother she'd never had. Helped him pick classes, taught him to drive stick shift, gave him shit about his dating life like a proper older sister. For the first time since Mom died, we felt like a real family again. Then, somehow, they found out I was paying for Elias's college. The call came on a Monday afternoon. My assistant interrupted a client meeting. I'm sorry, but you have a call from someone claiming to be your stepmother. She says it's urgent. I excused myself and took the call. Hello? Hi, this is Karen. I hope you're doing well. After some awkward talk and faking she cares. She spilled. By the way, I heard you're paying for Elias's tuition. That's very thoughtful. You know your brother Dylan is starting college in the fall, and we were wondering if you'd be willing to help with tuition too. I had to put the phone down for a second and stare at it. Let me get this straight. You want me, the son your husband kicked out 8 years ago, to pay for the college education of the kid he kept? Well, when you put it like that, how else would I put it? Karen? She started going into some sob story about finances and Dylan's potential and how they were struggling to afford tuition. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about Dylan's Camaro, their Disney trips, the kitchen renovation. The answer is no, I said. I'm happy to pay for my brother's education. I'm not paying for Dylan's. How could you be so cruel? He's your brother too. You're being unreason. I hung up before she could finish her sentence. Sat there in my office, looking out at the city skyline, and started laughing. The sheer audacity of these people never failed to amaze me. Next came the old man. He called the same day. Went straight to the point. You are paying for Dylan's tuition if you like it or not. You don't get to act up on us the moment you get money. Do you understand? We're still your family. I won't let you. I hung up on him mid-barking, then blocked his number. But they weren't done. Within 48 hours, my phone was blowing up with calls and texts from relatives I hadn't heard from since high school graduation. Suddenly, every aunt, uncle, and cousin had strong opinions about my selfishness. My phone was buzzing constantly. Text after text from aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all with the same message. How could I be so cruel to Dylan? How could I play favorites? Didn't I understand that family meant supporting each other? Family. Right. The best one came from my cousin Michelle, Dad's niece, who I hadn't talked to since Mom's funeral. I can't believe you're being so petty. Dylan didn't choose this situation any more than you did. He's just a kid trying to go to college. You're successful now. Why can't you help him out? It's what your mom would have wanted. These assholes invoking Mom's memory to guilt me into funding Karen's kid's education. I called my Uncle Bill, Dad's brother, always the most straightforward guy in the family, because I needed to understand what exactly Dad had told everyone. Bill, what did Dad tell you about why I left home? Long pause. He said you wanted to be independent. Got into some argument about house rules and decided to move out. Said you were going through a rebellious phase. House rules. Rebellious phase. 8 years of lies, and the family had bought every word. And Elias? Same story. Said Elias was following your bad example, wanted to play house with his big brother, instead of respecting his parents. I hung up and just sat there for a minute. This son of a bitch had rewritten history, made himself the victim of ungrateful children instead of the deadbeat father who'd abandoned his kids for a new family. That's when I decided it was time for some truth-telling. I set up a group video call with the extended family, sent invitations to everyone who'd been lecturing me about my selfishness, told them I wanted to clear up some misconceptions. 15 people showed up. When everyone was on screen, I laid it out. Since there seems to be confusion about what happened 8 years ago, let me clarify. I didn't choose to leave. Dad kicked me out. Same thing happened to Elias. We didn't run away, we got thrown away. You could hear a pin drop. For 8 years, none of you reached out. Not one call asking if we were okay. You believed Dad's lies without checking on us. But now that you want something from me, suddenly I'm family again? My Aunt Susan tried to interrupt. Now wait a minute. Dad chose his new family over his biological kids, and all of you enabled it. Now you're mad that I won't subsidize the golden child's education? Too bad. I ended the call and blocked every single one of them. Sarah found me in my office afterward. Feel better? She asked. Getting there, I said. But I wasn't done yet. See, something had been bothering me about this whole situation. How exactly did they find out I was paying for Elias's college? Only 4 people knew. Me, Sarah, Elias, and my financial advisor. I called Elias. Who else knows about the tuition payments? Nobody. I never told anyone. Why? How did Karen find out? It took some digging, but I finally figured it out. One of Karen's friends, a woman named Chloe who worked in the college's financial aid office, had looked up Elias's account, saw that his tuition was being paid by a third party, did some cross-referencing, and figured out it was me. Not only was this a massive violation of privacy laws, but it was probably what started this whole shit show. Karen's friend had fed her information she had no right to access, and Karen had used that information to track me down and demand money. Time to call a lawyer. FERPA violations are serious business. When colleges mishandle student information, they can lose federal funding. The Department of Education doesn't mess around with privacy breaches. Within a week, we had documentation proving that Chloe had accessed Elias's records without authorization and shared confidential information with Karen. We had witnesses, timestamps, everything we needed to build a case. The college panicked when they got our letter. These kinds of violations can shut down federal financial aid programs, which would have killed them. They were very motivated to make this go away quietly. We settled for $75,000, enough to cover Elias's remaining tuition in graduate school if he wanted it. Chloe got fired, the college implemented new privacy protocols, and I got the satisfaction of watching karma work in real time. But that was just the warm-up act. Remember how I mentioned I work in supply chain management? It's a smaller industry than you'd think, and people talk. Word gets around about who's reliable, who's not, who you want to work with, and who you want to avoid. Dad's plumbing business had been struggling for years. Turns out, when you spend all your time playing suburban dad instead of running your company, things tend to fall apart. He'd been trying to get contracts with some of the bigger construction companies, including a few that I had relationships with. I didn't sabotage anything, didn't badmouth him or spread lies. I just made sure the right people knew about his character. Funny how quickly word spreads in professional circles when someone's ethics come into question. Within 6 months, Dad couldn't get contracts anywhere. Companies that had been considering working with him suddenly found other options. Credit lines dried up. Suppliers started demanding payment up front. The suburban dream lifestyle he'd built on credit and bullshit started crumbling. He had to sell the house, Mom's house, the one where Elias and I had grown up. Moved into a rental across town, downsized everything, let half his crew go. Dylan had to transfer from his expensive private college to community college because they couldn't afford tuition. And Karen? Sweet Karen, who'd spent 8 years playing suburban mom with someone else's kid's inheritance? She filed for divorce 6 months after the money ran out. Apparently, her love was contingent on Dad being able to provide the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to. She took half of what little was left, moved back in with her parents, and immediately started dating some other guy with better financial prospects. Dylan went with her, naturally. Kid had never seen Dad as his real father anyway. So there was Dad, alone, broke, and abandoned by the new family he'd chosen over his biological children. The irony was so perfect, it almost made me feel bad for him. Almost. You know what they say about karma? It's a patient bitch, but she always collects. By early 2022, Dad's life had completely imploded. The business was gone, the house was gone, Karen was gone, and Dylan had followed his mother to whatever new sugar daddy she'd found. Dad was working as an employee for the first time in 20 years, living in a shitty apartment, and probably wondering where it all went wrong. I should have been satisfied. The man who'd kicked out his own kids to play house with his replacement family had gotten exactly what he deserved, but there was still one more shoe to drop. See, I'd been documenting everything for 8 years. Every slight against Elias, every Facebook post about Dylan's achievements, while ignoring his stepson's accomplishments. Every family gathering we weren't invited to. I had receipts going back to the day I got kicked out. Why? Because some part of me knew this moment would come. The call came on a Sunday evening. I was at home with Sarah, making dinner and talking about our plans for the weekend. When I saw Dad's number on my phone, I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in 8 years, Not since the day I'd picked up Elias. But curiosity won. Hello? Son? His voice sounded older, tired. I was hoping we could talk. Son. Right. Now I was his son again. About what? About family. About making things right. I put the phone on speaker so Sarah could hear. She raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. I know I made mistakes, Dad continued. I know things got complicated after your mother died, and maybe I didn't handle the situation perfectly. But we're family. That has to count for something. Complicated. That's what he was calling it now. What do you want? I want my sons back. Oh, that's some hell of a nerve. Long pause. Look, I thought I was doing the right thing. Teaching you responsibility. Helping you become men. Maybe my methods were wrong, but my intentions were good. Sure. Let's talk about his intentions. And now? What's changed? Another pause. I'm getting older. I've lost everything. I don't want to lose my sons too. There it was. He'd lost everything else. So now he wanted us back. Dad, let me ask you something. In the 8 years since you kicked us out, how many times did you call to check on us? Silence. How many times did you come to Elias's school events? More silence. How many birthdays did you remember? How many holidays did you invite us to? I thought you didn't want anything to do with me. We were kids, Dad. It was your job to maintain the relationship, not ours. I could hear him breathing on the other end, probably trying to figure out how to spin this. I know I wasn't perfect, he finally said, but I'm willing to make amends. We could start fresh, put the past behind us. Like 8 years of abandonment was just water under the bridge. What about Dylan? I asked. Is he part of this family reunion? Dylan's with his mother now. This is about us, about my real family. Now Elias and I were his real family. Funny how things suddenly change when you get abandoned. I'll think about it, I told him. Of course. Take all the time you need. I hung up and looked at Sarah. She was shaking her head. You're not seriously considering this, she said. Nah, but I want to see how far he's willing to go. Over the next few weeks, Dad kept calling, leaving voicemails about family, about regrets, about wanting to make things right. He even sent a card to Elias, the first birthday card my brother had gotten from him in 8 years. Elias brought it over to my house, still in the envelope. He opened it. Generic birthday card from the drugstore with a handwritten note. I'm sorry for everything. I miss you. Love, Dad. What are you going to do? He asked me. That's when I told him about the documentation I'd been keeping. I'm going to give him what he wants, I said. A family reunion. But it's going to be on our terms. I called Dad back the next week. I've been thinking about what you said, I told him. I'm so glad to hear that, son. There are conditions. Of course. Whatever you need. First, Elias and I want a full accounting of what happened to Mom's life insurance money and our college funds. Pause. Well, that's complicated. There were medical bills and we have copies of Mom's insurance policies. We know how much you got. We want to know where it went. Longer pause. That money was used for family expenses. Dylan's car was a family expense? I don't see how relitigating the past is going to help us move forward. Second condition. We want you to tell the extended family the truth about what happened. All of it. No more lies about us choosing to leave. Son, I don't think that's necessary. Those are the terms. Full financial accounting and public acknowledgement of what you did. Take it or leave it. He took some time to think about it. Called me back 3 days later. Okay, he said. I agree to your terms. Good. Let's meet next Sunday. Sunday afternoon, Sarah and I drove to Dad's apartment. It was in a complex that had seen better days. Dad answered the door looking older than his years. The general appearance of a man beaten down by life. The apartment was small, cramped, furnished with garage sale furniture. We sat at his kitchen table, and I pulled out a folder. The financial accounting you promised, I said. He opened it, and his face went white. Insurance documents, bank statements, records showing exactly how Mom's insurance money had been spent. Karen's car, Dylan's equipment, the Disney trips. How did you get these? Public records. The question is, why did Mom's insurance money pay for Dylan's Camaro instead of Elias's college fund? I was trying to blend the families. I thought if I treated Dylan like my own son, you already had 2 sons. Sarah spoke up. The second part of the deal was telling the truth to the extended family. Good, because I've already sent them this. I showed him the email on my phone. Complete timeline, documentation, screenshots, everything I'd been saving for 8 years. He read through it, his face getting paler. No! This will ruin me. No, Dad. You ruined yourself. Now you live with the consequences. Same as Elias and I had to do when you kicked us out. I stood up and headed for the door. Wait! Dad called. What about us being a family again? I thought we had an agreement. We stopped being family the day you chose them over us. If you thought we could play house again after all these years, you were wrong. But I'm apologizing now. Come on, son. Don't be so cruel. You're negotiating. There's a difference. Sarah and I left him staring at his card table, surrounded by evidence of his failures. The extended family's reaction to my email was swift and predictable. The ones who'd been lecturing me about family values suddenly got real quiet. A few tried to call with weak apologies, but most just pretended the email had never happened. My grandfather called 3 days later. I owe you an apology, he said. I should have checked on you boys. Yes, you should have. Is there anything I can do now? Nothing that matters. Too little. Too late. He didn't argue. Good. Elias read through all the documentation, looked at the family's weak responses, and just shrugged. I'm not surprised, he said. I stopped expecting anything from them years ago. Dad tried calling a few more times over the following months, but I never answered. What was left to say? I'd given him the family reunion he wanted, just not the way he'd imagined it. The last I heard about him was from Jake, whose mom had run into Dad at the grocery store. He was working 2 jobs now, trying to dig out of debt, living alone in that sad apartment. What can I say? Karma's a bitch. Story 6. This story is titled, My Parents Threatened to Cut Me Off If I Didn't Pay My Sister's Debt. I called their bluff and went no contact. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey everyone, been hanging around here for a while, but I've never really shared anything before. I didn't think I'd ever have a reason to, but my family has officially pushed me to my limit. I need to hear what other people think. It feels like no matter what I do, I'm always painted as the bad guy, and honestly, I'm exhausted. So here's what's been going on. I'm 30, male now, and I've been on my own since I was 18. When I say on my own, I mean it. Financially, emotionally, you name it. My parents? Let's just say they're not exactly winning any awards for parenting or sibling support. They weren't the kind of parents who cheered you on or made you feel like you were special. Instead, they had this unspoken rule that shaped my entire childhood. My younger sister, Anna, could do no wrong, while I was expected to be the responsible one. If Anna messed up, and believe me, she messed up a lot, it was brushed under the rug. She's just sensitive, my mom would say. Or, she'll learn eventually, which was code for let's pretend this never happened and hope she figures it out. Meanwhile, if I so much as stumbled, it was like the sky was falling. Why aren't you trying harder? You need to set a better example for your sister. It didn't matter what I did. It was never enough. I could bring home a report card full of A's, and they'd ask why I didn't get an A+ in math. But Anna? She could barely pass, and it was, at least you're doing your best, sweetie. That dynamic didn't stop when we became adults. If anything, it got worse. Anna stayed under my parents' roof until she was in her mid-20s, bouncing from one failed job to the next and always finding some excuse for why it wasn't her fault. Meanwhile, I was out here working 2 part-time jobs to pay my way through college, figuring out how to manage rent and bills on my own. Not once did they offer to help me. Not that I expected them to, but it stung watching them bend over backward for Anna while I was left to fend for myself. Anyway, fast forward to 6 months ago. My mom called me. Now, you have to understand, my mom doesn't call just to chat. She doesn't call to check in or say hi. When she calls, it's because she needs something. You know the kind of call I'm talking about. The one that starts with overly sweet small talk, like they're trying to butter you up before dropping the real reason they're calling. That's exactly what happened. She started with, "How's work? Are you still at that company? Have you been eating well?" It was so out of character that I knew something was coming. My mom doesn't care how I'm eating. She doesn't even know what I do for a living beyond something with computers. The whole conversation felt fake, like she was trying too hard to sound casual. Then she hit me with it. Anna's in trouble. I wasn't surprised. Anna always seems to be in trouble, but I wasn't expecting this. Apparently, Anna had racked up $40,000 in debt, and not the kind of debt you can laugh off as youthful stupidity, like student loans or maxed out credit cards. No, she had borrowed from some seriously shady people, and now they were getting serious about wanting their money back. My mom's voice cracked like she was about to cry, which I'm sure she thought would make me cave. She didn't waste any time piling on the guilt. You've done so well for yourself. You've always been the strong one. Anna's not like you. She needs your help. I sat there for a moment, trying to process what she'd just said. 40 grand? How does someone even manage to rack up that kind of debt? I asked her how it happened, half expecting some ridiculous excuse, and my mom brushed it off. That doesn't matter right now, she said, like I was focusing on the wrong thing. What matters is that she's your sister. Family helps family. That line, family helps family, has been their go-to excuse for years. It's what they said every time they needed me to fix something for Anna, cover for her, or clean up whatever mess she'd made. And every time I'd swallowed my frustration and done what they asked because I didn't want to be the bad guy. But this? $40,000? I couldn't do it. Not this time. I told her no. Straight up. I said, I'm sorry, but I can't bail Anna out of a mess she created. And just like that, the tone of the conversation shifted. My mom went from pitiful to pissed in about 2 seconds flat. You're being selfish, she started to yell. You're abandoning your family when they need you most. She even threw in, do you want her blood on your hands? As if Anna's poor life choices were somehow my responsibility. At that point, I hung up. I couldn't listen to it anymore. My hands were shaking, and my chest felt tight, but I knew I'd made the right decision. I've worked too hard to let someone else's bad choices drag me down. Still, the guilt started creeping in almost immediately. My family has a way of twisting things to make me feel like the bad guy, and this time was no different. Even though I said no, I can't shake the feeling that maybe I made the wrong call. Standing up to my family felt like the right thing in the moment, but now I'm stuck wondering if I've just made everything worse. What if they're right? What if I'm being selfish? And honestly, I still don't know what's coming next. That call was just the start, and what happened afterward caught me completely off guard. I have a feeling this isn't over, but I'll fill you all in as things unfold. I'll post an update soon. Update 1. Hey guys, so I thought things might cool down for a bit. Maybe she'd stew for a while and then let it go. Turns out I was way off. The drama ramped up hard, and honestly, I wasn't ready for it. It's been a total mess, and I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with it. Let me break it down. So, after I hung up on my mom, things went from bad to worse. I knew she wouldn't let it go, but I wasn't prepared for the sheer level of guilt-tripping and harassment that followed. My phone was blowing up constantly. First, it was my mom with texts like, "We raised you better than this," and "You'll regret turning your back on your family." Then my dad jumped in with his 2 cents, even though he's usually the silent type. His messages were short and to the point, like, "You're better than this," or "Do the right thing." But Anna? Oh, Anna went all out. She sent me this long, whiny text about how her life was falling apart and how she didn't deserve to be abandoned. She threw in stuff like, "I've always looked up to you, and now you're just leaving me to suffer?" And, "You're rich. It's not like $40,000 would even make a dent for you." That made me laugh, Rich. Let me tell you, just because I'm not living paycheck to paycheck doesn't mean I'm swimming in cash. The entitlement in her tone was unbelievable. I didn't reply to any of them. I thought maybe if I ignored it, they'd realize I wasn't going to budge and just let it go. A couple of days later, I got a call from my aunt. She's one of the few family members I actually get along with. So I picked up. She sounded awkward, like she didn't want to be making the call, but felt like she had to. She said my mom had been telling everyone in the family that I was refusing to help Anna and that I was letting her sink. According to my mom, Anna's life was in danger, and I was just standing by watching it happen. My aunt didn't believe all of it, but she wanted to hear my side. I explained the whole situation, including the part where Anna got herself into this mess and expected me to magically fix it. My aunt was shocked but supportive. She told me I wasn't wrong to say no, and that Anna needed to face the consequences of her actions. Hearing that helped a little, but the damage was already done. My mom had spread the story far and wide, twisting it to make me look like the villain. I started getting texts from cousins, uncles, and even a couple of old family friends. Most of them were vague, like, "You should really think about what family means," or "You'll regret this one day." Some were outright nasty. One of my cousins called me selfish and said I was acting like I was too good for the family. I ignored them all, but the constant barrage was exhausting. And then things escalated. One afternoon, I got a call from my bank. At first, I thought it was a scam because who actually gets calls from their bank? But the guy on the line explained that someone had tried to access my accounts using fake identification. They flagged it as suspicious because the documents didn't match up. And thankfully, nothing was taken. I immediately knew who was behind it. Anna. It had to be her. She was desperate. And if she was willing to drag the entire family into this, why wouldn't she try to steal from me? I asked the bank for more details, but they couldn't tell me much other than that they'd locked my accounts temporarily as a precaution. I thanked them and hung up. but I was furious. This wasn't just guilt tripping or emotional manipulation anymore. This was criminal. I need answers, so I am thinking of confronting Anna directly. What would you guys do if you were in my place? Thanks for sticking around. I'll keep you updated. Update 2. Hey again. Y'all been waiting for the confrontation news. Sorry for being late. Hear how it went. After I decided to confront Anna, I was still fuming when I pulled up to her apartment later that evening. I hadn't told her I was coming, and honestly, I wasn't even sure what I was going to say. All I knew was that I needed to look her in the eye and hear her admit what she'd done. Maybe a part of me hoped she'd deny it. Give me some reason to believe my sister wasn't the type of person who'd stoop this low. When she opened the door, she looked surprised to see me, but not in a "what are you doing here" kind of way. It was more like she'd been expecting me to show up eventually. She was wearing sweats, and her hair was a mess, like she'd just rolled out of bed. Not that I cared about her appearance, but it added to the whole vibe of, I don't have my life together. What are you doing here? She asked, leaning against the doorframe like this was some casual visit. I didn't even bother easing into it. Did you try to steal from me? I asked, holding up my phone with the bank alert still on the screen. My voice was probably louder than it needed to be, but I couldn't help it. I was pissed. Her face froze for a second, and I thought, maybe she'll lie. Maybe she'll try to deny it. But no. Instead, she rolled her eyes like I was overreacting and said, "Oh, come on. You weren't going to help me, so what choice did I have?" What? Choice? The did? She? Have? I stared at her, dumbfounded. Do you even hear yourself? You tried to steal from me because I wouldn't bail you out of your own mess. That's not just wrong, Anna. That's illegal. She shrugged. Actually shrugged. Like we were talking about borrowing a sweater or something. Mom and Dad said you'd come around eventually, she said, crossing her arms. They told me to push you harder, that you'd cave if I made it serious enough. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You've got to be kidding me, I said. They encouraged you to do this? To commit fraud? Do you even realize how insane that sounds? They didn't tell me to commit fraud, she said. They just said you wouldn't let me sink if you thought I was really in trouble. And guess what? I am in trouble. I don't have anyone else to turn to. I was so angry, I could barely think straight. You don't have anyone else to turn to because you've burned every bridge you've ever had, I shouted. This isn't just about the money, Anna. It's about the fact that you've never taken responsibility for anything in your life. And now you're dragging me into your mess because you're too selfish to deal with the consequences of your own actions. She didn't even flinch. You're being dramatic, waving me off. It's not like I actually got anything from you. The bank stopped it, didn't they? So what's the big deal? The big deal, I said, is that you tried. The big deal is that you thought you had the right to steal from me just because you're too lazy to clean up your own mess. And the even bigger deal is that Mom and Dad think this is okay. That finally seemed to get under her skin. Her face twisted into this mix of anger and embarrassment, but instead of apologizing, she doubled down. You think you're so much better than me, don't you? She spat. Just because you've got your fancy job and your stupid house, you think you can sit there and judge me? Well, guess what, big brother? You wouldn't be where you are without Mom and Dad. They sacrificed everything for us, and this is how you repay them? I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when you're so frustrated you don't know what else to do. Mom and Dad didn't sacrifice anything for me, I said. I paid rent at 18. I put myself through college. Every sacrifice they made was for you, Anna. They handed you everything on a silver platter while I was left to figure things out on my own. So don't even try to pull the family loyalty card with me. She didn't have a response to that. Or maybe she did, but she didn't say it out loud. Instead, she just stood there, glaring at me like I was the bad guy in all of this. I couldn't take it anymore. You know what? I said, stepping back toward the door. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with Mom and Dad. And I'm done with this entire toxic family dynamic. You want to ruin your shitty life? Fine. But you're not taking me down with you. I left before she could say anything else. On the drive home, my hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard that my knuckles were white. I was angry, sure. But more than that, I was hurt. Not just by Anna, but by my parents too. How could they think this was okay? How could they justify encouraging her to pull something like this? When I got home, I sat down and made a list of all the things I needed to do to protect myself. I called my bank to double-check that my accounts were secure. I changed all my passwords. I even called a lawyer friend to ask what my options were if Anna tried something like this again. He told me I could press charges if I wanted to, but I wasn't ready to go that far. Yet. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. But deep down, I knew the truth. No matter what I said or did, Anna wouldn't change. And as long as my parents kept enabling her, she'd never have to. After the confrontation with Anna, I thought things couldn't get worse. I mean, how much lower could they sink? Turns out I underestimated my family's talent for making bad situations even worse. It started about a week later. My parents showed up at my house. No call, no text, just them standing on my porch like they owned the place. I debated not answering the door, but I figured they'd just keep ringing the bell until I caved. So, I opened it. My mom didn't even bother with a greeting. She shoved past me like she was entitled to be there, her face red with anger. My dad followed her inside, looking uncomfortable, but clearly there to back her up. I closed the door, took a deep breath, and braced myself. "This has gone far enough," my mom yelled, spinning around to face me. "We need to talk." I crossed my arms. "I think we've already said everything that needs to be said." "No, we haven't," she said. "You need to stop this nonsense and help your sister. She's family. She's your responsibility." I stared at her, absolutely dumbfounded. My responsibility? She got me pissed off. Anna is a grown adult who got herself into this mess. I'm not her parent, and I'm certainly not her ATM. My mom's face twisted in frustration. "Do you think we like asking you for help? Do you think this is easy for us? This is about family loyalty. You don't just abandon your family when things get tough." I laughed bitterly. "You mean the loyalty you showed when you charged me rent at 18? Or when you made me pay for my own college while Anna got everything handed to her? Or how about when you let her screw up over and over again and just expected me to fix it?" "Yeah, no thanks." My dad finally spoke up, his voice low and serious. "Do you think we've had an easy life, raising 2 kids and trying to give you both the best we could? We sacrificed so much for you." "Stop," I said, cutting him off. "Just stop. Every sacrifice you made was for Anna. Every time something went wrong, you bent over backward to fix it for her while I had to fend for myself. And you know what? That's fine. I don't need your help, and I never have. But don't stand here and lecture me about loyalty when you've been enabling her bad behavior for years." My mom's face turned bright red, and I could tell she was about to lose it. "If you don't help her, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life," she hissed. "Do you want her to end up on the streets? Do you want her blood on your hands?" And there it was. The same guilt trip she'd tried to pull during that phone call. I felt my blood boiling. I just didn't understand their logic. "I'm not responsible for what happens to Anna," I said. "She made her choices. If she ends up on the streets, that's on her. And on you for never teaching her how to be accountable for her actions." My mom was practically shaking with rage at this point. "Fine," she spat. "If this is the kind of person you want to be, don't expect us to be there for you when you need us." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've never needed you," I said coldly. "And after this, I never will." For a moment, the room was dead silent. My dad looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. My mom just glared at me, her chest heaving like she was about to explode. Then, without another word, she turned on her heel and stormed out. My dad followed her, but he paused at the door to give me one last look, a mix of disappointment and something else I couldn't quite place. Maybe regret. Then he left too. As soon as the door closed behind them, I felt this overwhelming sense of relief. I didn't care about their approval or their guilt trips or their toxic idea of family loyalty. I was done. But of course they weren't. The next day I got an email from my mom. It was long and rambling, full of the usual guilt-tripping nonsense. She accused me of being ungrateful and cruel. She said I was abandoning my family in their time of need and that I'd broken her heart. She even hinted that she and my dad might cut me out of their will, like that was supposed to scare me into submission. I didn't respond. What was the point? Then Anna started up again. She sent me this dramatic text about how she was losing everything and how it was all my fault. She said she'd had to sell her car, that she was behind on rent, and that she was being harassed by her creditors. Honestly, I didn't feel bad. She dug her own hole. Now she had to deal with it. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail, not from my family, but from a lawyer. My parents were threatening to sue me. The letter claimed I had a moral obligation to support Anna, and that I'd irreparably harmed the family by refusing to help. It was laughable, really. I forwarded the letter to my own lawyer, who assured me it was complete garbage. They didn't have a leg to stand on, and nothing would come of it. But the fact that they even tried, that was it for me. I was done. Done with Anna, done with my parents, done with the whole toxic family dynamic. I blocked their numbers, deleted them from social media, and told the few relatives I still spoke to that I wasn't interested in hearing anything about my parents or Anna. Most of them understood, though a couple tried to convince me to find a way to make peace. I shut that down real quick. Peace wasn't possible with people who saw me as nothing more than a safety net for Anna's bad decisions. Here where I am right now, I feel miserable. Do you think it's normal for a family to go this far? Final update. Hello again. I decided to write a final update once I figure things out. So here goes. After sending that lawyer's letter straight to the trash and forwarding it to my lawyer just in case, I finally made a decision that had been creeping up on me for years. I was going no contact. Completely. Permanently. I'd been hanging on to some small, fragile hope that my family might change, but the lawyer stunt was proof enough. They weren't going to stop. If anything, they were doubling down on their toxic behavior, and I wasn't going to let them drag me any further into their chaos. So I went full-on block mode. My mom, my dad, Anna, everyone got the chop. Blocked their numbers, their emails, everything. Honestly, hitting that block button felt weirdly good. Then I went through my socials and wiped them off there too. No way was I leaving any doors open for them to sneak back in. I shot a quick text to the few family members I actually like, mostly cousins, letting them know I was done with the family drama and asking them not to play messenger for anyone. Most of them were cool about it, but of course a couple hit me with the whole, "but they're your family," guilt trip. My response? Short and sweet. Being family doesn't mean you get to treat me like crap. The hardest part was explaining the situation to a few mutual friends who knew my parents. Some of them couldn't believe what I was telling them. Like, they literally couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that my parents and sister had tried to steal from me, guilt me, and now sue me. One friend even asked, "Are you sure there's not more to the story?" As if I'd somehow left out the part where this was all my fault. I felt awful, but I let it go. The people who mattered believed me, and that was enough. The first week of no contact was tough. Not because I missed them, I didn't, but because they didn't give up easily. Even with their numbers blocked, they found ways to get through. My mom started calling from unknown numbers, leaving these long, dramatic voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart. She'd say things like, "We just want to talk," or, "You're punishing us for trying to do the right thing." It was exhausting. I didn't listen to most of the messages, just deleted them as soon as I realized who they were from. Then there were the letters. My parents must have gone straight from their lawyer's office to the post office, because the letters started coming almost immediately. At first, they were mostly nonsense. My mom writing pages and pages about how much she sacrificed for me and how I was breaking her heart. My dad chimed in too, though his letters were more direct. One of them actually said, "If you don't help Anna, don't expect us to ever forgive you." Forgive me? For what exactly? For not letting my sister steal from me? For not enabling her bad decisions? The sheer audacity of it was almost funny. By the second week, their messages went completely off the rails. My mom's letters turned desperate, almost unhinged, throwing out vague threats like, "You'll regret this one day," and "You'll be sorry when it's too late." It was all guilt and doom, like she was trying to scare me back into line. My dad, though, he didn't hold back. His letters were straight up venomous, calling me selfish, ungrateful, and arrogant. He ranted about how I'd forgotten where I came from, and was betraying the people who made you who you are. It wasn't just guilt anymore. It felt like they were trying to break me down, like they couldn't handle losing their grip on me. And then there was Anna. Oh, Anna didn't waste any time playing the victim. She sent me this long, handwritten letter, probably because she knew I'd block her emails, saying how much I'd hurt her, how she couldn't believe I'd abandon her in her time of need. She wrote stuff like, "You've always been my rock, and now you're just leaving me to drown." And, "I thought you cared about me, but clearly I was wrong." But I just couldn't believe her audacity. She ended the letter by asking for money again. Not $40,000 this time, just a small loan of $5,000 to help her get back on her feet. She even promised to pay me back as soon as things got better. I laughed so hard I nearly cried, like I was going to fall for that after everything she'd done. But my mom went on full crazy mode by showing up at my office. Yeah, she actually rolled up to my workplace unannounced. She stormed into the lobby, demanding to see me, and when the receptionist wouldn't budge, she lost it. She started yelling loud enough for the whole building to hear, calling me a horrible son, and screaming about how I was destroying the family. Security had to step in and physically escort her out. I stood there watching the whole thing from the mezzanine, completely frozen. My coworkers didn't say a word, but their faces? Pure shock. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. That was it. I'd had enough. I wasn't just mad. I was done. That night, I contacted a family law attorney. Not the friend I'd casually consulted earlier, an actual pro. I laid out everything: the harassment, the entitlement, the insanity. She listened, asked a few sharp questions, and then told me exactly what I needed to do. The next day, we drafted a cease and desist letter. It went out to everyone: my mom, my dad, Anna, even their lawyer. It was crystal clear: contact me again and I'll take legal action. No exceptions. I didn't think they'd actually stop, but shockingly it worked. My mom's calls? Stopped. The nasty letters? Gone. Even Anna, queen of the guilt trip, went radio silent. Now, 6 months after cutting ties, life feels different. Quieter, lighter, and honestly, better. It wasn't easy, but choosing myself over the constant chaos of my family was the best decision I've ever made. Of course, not everyone gets it. A few relatives still hit me with the same tired line, but they're your family. You know what I say to that? Family doesn't mean squat if they don't respect you. Blood doesn't give anyone the right to wreck your peace. You don't owe anyone, your time, money, or sanity just because you share DNA. Boundaries aren't harsh. They're necessary. And honestly, cutting them off was the best thing I've ever done. With the drama behind me, I threw myself into work and finally got a promotion I'd been chasing for years. The little I've heard about Anna tells me she's still struggling. She's working part-time now and living with a friend after losing her apartment. I don't feel bad about it anymore. She made her bed. My parents? Still spreading their story to anyone who will listen, but fewer people are buying it these days. It's freeing not to care. I've also started reconnecting with people I'd lost touch with, friends, a few cousins, and even opened up to someone I'm dating now. They've been incredibly supportive, and for the first time, I feel like I'm surrounded by people who genuinely respect me. To anyone dealing with a toxic family, I know how hard it is, but it gets better. Cutting them off felt like ripping off a band-aid, but the peace that followed was worth every painful moment. You owe it to yourself to choose peace, to choose you. Thanks for reading.